Chapter 26. Class Activities Before the Exam. The man who spoke up to challenge Chubai was a male proctor, who pulled double duty as a high school sports coach. Real physical education classes were a rarity for third-year students, but Chubai still recognized the man. His name was Sin Liang Kai. "Mr. Sin, I just had a cramp in my face. I was trying to work it out." "I'm sorry," Chubai said, immediately offering a humble apology. Chubai had already memorized the proctor list for every subject. He knew Sin Liang Kai was scheduled to oversee this room for the entire exam cycle. Offending the man would be a disaster. After all, Chubai intended to borrow answers from his neighbors, and that required his eyes to wander. "Keep your head down and listen," Sin Liang Kai barked. It was a sharp warning, but he let the matter drop. "Yes, sir." Chubai nodded with the practiced air of a model student. Inside, however, he cursed the man. "He's just a broken gym teacher with zero culture. He's all muscle and no brains, a classic case of developed limbs and a simple mind." A few minutes later, the English listening portion concluded. The candidates filed out of the examination room in an orderly line. Once the room emptied, Sin Liang Kai prepared to leave as well. As he stepped into the hallway, he ran right into Song Zhenyu. She was also proctoring on this floor. Sin Liang Kai's face lit up with joy, and he opened his mouth to greet her, but the words died in his throat. He pivoted on his heel and walked away as fast as his legs would carry him. He avoided Song Zhenyu as if she were the carrier of a deadly plague. Only when he reached the first floor did Sin Liang Kai allow himself a sigh of relief. "Mr. Sin." The sudden greeting from his side nearly made his soul jump out of his skin. He whipped his head around and saw a familiar face. "Wang. Student Wang Haoran? What is it?" Sin Liang Kai's voice trembled, and a nervous twitch developed under his eye. "It's nothing. I just felt like a chat, Teacher Sin." Wang Haoran smiled, gesturing for the man to follow as he walked ahead. Left with no choice, Sin Liang Kai trailed behind him helplessly. Before long, they reached the quiet edge of the playground. "I haven't bothered Teacher Song at all. I just saw her in the hall and didn't even dare to say hello. If you don't believe me, ask her yourself." "Just let me go," Sin Liang Kai blurted out, unable to handle the tension. Wang Haoran chuckled at the teacher's sheer panic. "Mr. Sin, I understand. Don't be so nervous. I didn't come here to talk about that." Once the man's breathing slowed, Wang Haoran got straight to the point. "I know you're proctoring room 3. There's a student there named Chubai, isn't there?" "Chubai? Yes, he's the one who kept looking around earlier. I already gave him a piece of my mind," Sin Liang Kai confirmed. "Looking around, was he?" Wang Haoran sneered. He knew exactly what Chubai was doing, scouting the environment to prepare for his cheating spree. "During the actual exam, I want you to keep a very close eye on him. Take good care of him. Don't allow him to look around. Not even once." "Understood. I'll stare him down until he doesn't dare move," Sin Liang Kai agreed instantly. Monitoring a single student was an easy task for an experienced proctor. Wang Haoran asked for the teacher's WeChat and promptly transferred 50,000 yuan. "Student Wang." "No, young Master Wang. What is this for?" Sin Liang Kai stared at his screen, completely stunned. "That is only the first half. You'll get the rest once the exams are over. But be warned, if you lose track of Chubai, you will deal with the consequences." Wang Haoran delivered the threat with a cold, hard edge. Preventing Chubai from cheating was a top priority, and he wasn't taking any chances. A verbal agreement was flimsy, but money combined with a threat was a different story. Sin Liang Kai would be obedient now. Besides, the request wasn't asking him to violate his morals. He just had to do his job with a little extra enthusiasm. "Don't you worry, young Master Wang. I'll do exactly as you ask." Sin Liang Kai tapped his phone to confirm the payment, his face glowing with newfound delight. Evening study arrived. With the mock exams starting tomorrow, the school had adjusted the bell schedule. It was officially time for self-study, but the usual bells remained silent. In the third-year halls, some classes were enjoying free time, while others remained under the strict gaze of their teachers. Unfortunately for Wang Haoran's class, they were in the latter group. Song Zhenyu sat at the front lectern, drafting a lesson plan, while keeping an eye on the rows of students. Outside, the hallways roared with the sound of students celebrating their brief freedom. Occasionally, the sound of singing drifted in from nearby rooms. Other classes were clearly holding organized activities. Every song was followed by a thunderous round of applause. The noise was infectious, making it impossible to focus on quiet study. Song Zhenyu eventually sighed and closed her book. "Forget it," she announced. "Tomorrow is the mock exam, and you're all too stressed. You can move around and relax for a bit. Long live Teacher Song. Teacher Song is the best." The classroom erupted in cheers. Quiet down. Don't go running into the halls and disturbing others, Song Zhenyu warned, trying to keep the chaos contained. If you want to do something, keep it artistic. Why don't you sing for us, Teacher Song? Come on, get us started. The students began to hoot and holler in agreement. The room was equipped with a multimedia computer and high-quality microphones. It was the perfect setup for a performance. I'm not singing, Song Zhenyu said, waving her hands dismissively. You guys can perform, and I'll be your biggest fan in the front row. She knew her own voice. She usually sang by shouting. That was fine for a karaoke bar with friends, but doing it in front of her students would be professional suicide. Since she refused to budge, the students turned their attention elsewhere. Study committee member. You go, someone shouted. No, absolutely not, Sum Lian replied, shaking her head. I handle the grades, not the entertainment. I can't sing. Where's our arts representative then? Every head in the room turned toward Wang Haoran. As the literary and arts representative, he was the natural choice. Rather than looking nervous under the collective gaze of the class, Wang Haoran looked almost relieved. He had been waiting for an opening like this. Wang Haoran, Wang Haoran. The girls in the class began a rhythmic chant. As the school's most popular student, he had a massive following. The mere prospect of hearing him sing was enough to send them into a frenzy. Just because he's handsome doesn't mean he can hit a note, Chubai muttered from the back. He watched the scene with pure disdain. A group of superficial women. What a joke. He refused to believe that Wang Haoran possessed any actual talent. In his mind, this was just another moment for the perfect student to fail. Chapter 27. Wang Haoran's solo show. Under the weight of 50 expectant gazes, Wang Haoran stepped onto the podium and gripped the microphone. The cheering and shouting died down instantly, replaced by a heavy, focused silence. His voice, naturally magnetic and smooth, carried through the multimedia speakers with a slow, deliberate resonance. Dreams must be tempered through trials and hardships. They require us to face disappointment and confusion. But as long as you keep moving forward, you can break through the fog. Let the sun shine through the clouds and emit a scorching glow. He paused, letting the words settle. This song, Dream It Possible, is for myself, for every classmate here who harbors a dream, and of course, for our beautiful English teacher. A short opening, but it was enough to set their blood on fire. The atmosphere in the room reached a fever pitch. These were high school seniors in the final sprint toward their college entrance exams, 18-year-olds brimming with untapped passion. Everyone had a dream hidden in their heart. Even Song Zhenyu felt a surge of adrenaline as she recalled her own days as a student. Yet, a flicker of worry crossed her mind. There was a popular Chinese version of this song called My Dream, but the English version was notoriously difficult to perform. Was Wang Haoran overextending himself just to pay tribute to her subject? The prelude began to play, a soft melody that commanded total silence. I will run, I will climb, I will soar. His voice held a unique, youthful clarity paired with a mature, masculine magnetism. The two qualities seemed contradictory, yet they merged flawlessly into an unknown, irresistible charm. Within a single sentence, he captured every heart in the room. Song Zhenyu's anxiety vanished. She leaned back, mesmerized. I'm undefeated. Jumping out of my skin, pull the cord. Yeah, I believe it. The past is everything we were, don't make us who we are. The tune remained low and steady, reflecting the loneliness and obstacles one encounters on the journey toward a goal. With Wang Haoran's delivery, the melody felt intimate, almost depressing, before it began its slow, powerful ascent. When your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable. Take a shot, chase the sun, find the beautiful. We will glow in the dark, turning dust to gold. His voice soared, piercing through the air to reach the very souls of his classmates. It gave them a tangible sense of courage. The song was already inspirational, but his performance magnified that feeling 10 times over. Students scrambled for their phones, desperate to record the moment. Sum Lian bit her lip, regretting that she had left her phone at home. She turned to nudge Wen Jing, but stopped before she could speak. Wen Jing was already recording, her hands steady and her eyes fixed on the boy on stage. As his secret girlfriend, she was more invested than anyone else in the room. And we'll dream possible. As the final note faded, the classroom erupted. It wasn't just applause, it was a rhythmic roar, a tidal wave of sound that shook the walls. Only one person remained sullen. Chubai felt a bitter ache in his chest. The guy is handsome, brilliant, wealthy, and now he can sing like a professional. God is unfair. Student Wang Haoran, you've been hiding your light under a bushel, Song Zhenyu said, her face bright with genuine joy. I've been your teacher for over 2 years, and I'm only finding out now? I'm almost offended. She mockingly complained, we've had several campus singer competitions, and our class never even entered. Why didn't you sign up back then? What campus competitions? When Jing chimed in, her voice full of pride. For Wang Haoran to compete in those would be beneath him. It would lower his status. Song Zhenyu actually found herself nodding. Compared to this performance, the previous winners she'd heard sounded like amateurs. It was the difference between a novice and a king. Even so, Song Zhenyu teased, "You've gone too far by keeping this from us. Your punishment is another song. One more song. One more song." The class chanted in unison. Wang Haoran wasn't finished either. This was exactly the opportunity he wanted. "Then I'll sing The Only One I Love Is You." The room whistled and owed at the choice. It was a blatant confession of a love song. As the accompaniment began, Wang Haoran stepped off the podium. He didn't stay at the front. Instead, he wandered through the aisles, eventually coming to a stop directly in front of Song Zhenyu. She froze as he leaned in slightly. "Teacher Song, this song requires me to channel some deep emotion. I hope you don't mind if I focus on you while I sing." He flashed a charming smile. The prelude ended. Without blinking, he looked deep into her eyes and sang with raw affection. "In the happy country of love, you are my only. The only thing I love is you. I really love you." Song Zhenyu felt her toes curl inside her shoes. Between the professional-grade vocals and that devastatingly handsome face, her defenses were crumbling. "You will only know how to cherish if you lose it, but I cherish you. The pain heals, it's the deeper the love." Song Zhenyu's professional mask slipped. She stopped thinking of herself as a teacher and felt like an ordinary girl being serenaded by the boy of her dreams. In the periphery of his vision, Wang Haoran saw the familiar flicker of system notifications. Song Zhenyu's favorability has increased by 10, total favorability 40. Relationship status very close. The original plot has been significantly altered. You have earned 200 villain points. Chapter 28. The Prince of Love Songs. "I hold you tightly in my arms," Wang Haoran sang, his voice a low, honeyed caress. "I hold you in my palm. Who told me that I really love you? In the pure world of love, you are my only one. Never ever doubt." Wang Haoran leaned into the lyrics, his expression one of pure, unadulterated devotion. Song Zhenyu looked back at him, her gaze softening until her eyes were slightly intoxicated by the melody. The surrounding movement of the students brought the room to a simmer, the air thick with the kind of excitement only a high-stakes serenade could produce. The noise of the class finally pulled Song Zhenyu back to reality. Her professional mask flickered back into place, though a playful smile remained. "Enough with the emotions already. Hurry up and stop singing to me." She laughed, scolding him lightly, as she grabbed his shoulder and gave him a gentle push. Wang Haoran let the momentum carry him. He drifted across the room, stopping directly in front of Sun Weian. The class held its collective breath. Was he going to sing a love song to her now? Of course not. When it came to Sun Weian, Wang Haoran had long ago mastered the strategy of playing hard to get. Experience had proven that she responded best to the chase. She was the type of girl who seemed approachable on the surface, but possessed a fierce, underlying arrogance. To win someone like that, you couldn't give them too much ground. If you chased her outright, she would ignore you. If you ignored her, she would grow restless. Wang Haoran shifted his gaze. Instead of looking at Sun Weian, he fixed his eyes on Wen Jing. Sun Weian felt a sudden prickle of embarrassment. He was standing right in front of her, yet he was looking at her best friend. The confusion stung. Wang Haoran's magnetic voice picked up with the accompaniment again. "I take you as my heir, so inseparable. I said loudly that the one I love is you. In the happy country of love, you are the only one I love. The only one I love is you. The one I really love is you." Wen Jing was already obsessed with him, but having a love song directed specifically at her was more than she could handle. Her face flushed, and her heart raced with an indescribable surge of joy. On the other side of the desk, Sun Weian's feelings were a tangled mess. Wang Haoran wasn't looking at her, but he remained standing in her space. It felt as though the song were meant for her, even if his eyes told a different story. The charm of the music, performed at a professional level by a boy who was undeniably handsome, was intoxicating. A wave of bitterness washed over Sun Weian. Why was he singing to Wen Jing? Despite the sourness, she couldn't control the heat rising in her cheeks, or the frantic thumping of her heart. "In the happy land of love, you are the only one. The only one I love is you. The one I really love is you. The only one I love is you. The only one I really love is you. I love you." The song ended. As the last note lingered in the air, Wang Haoran's intense gaze finally shifted. It hit Sun Weian's eyes like a physical weight. The lingering emotion of the love song combined with the natural charm of his gaze sent a tremor through her soul. For the first time in her life, Sumlian felt the legendary sensation of a deer galloping through her heart. Ding. Sumlian, one of the heroines, has plus 10 favorability. Total favorability 50. Relationship status heart loves. Ding. The host has significantly impacted the plot. You have earned 500 villain points. Chubai's protagonist halo, minus 30. Host's villain halo, plus 30. Wang Haoran suppressed a grin. 500 points in a single go was his highest reward yet. It made sense, making a heroine's heart flutter was no small feat for a villain. He quickly pulled up his status panel to review his progress. Host Wang Haoran. Combat Strength, 289. Charm, 268. Villain Halo, 289. Villain Points, 1,300. Skills Master Level Calligraphy/Painting, Master Level Wing Chun, Song God Level Singing. While the classroom erupted in applause, Chubai remained the sole outlier. He sat frozen, his eyes burning as he watched Sumlian stare at Wang Haoran. Something is wrong with her eyes, Chubai thought, his gut twisting with discomfort. She couldn't possibly like him, could she? He hated that he couldn't sing. If he had a voice like that, he would be the one up there capturing her attention. He stewed in his anger for a moment before forcing himself to calm down. It didn't matter. Once the results of the entrance exam were posted, he would make his comeback. If he placed in the top 10, Sumlian would have to be his girlfriend. Even if she didn't agree immediately, Chubai wasn't worried. He was a master of persistence. He had decided he would respect her enough not to distract her before the final college exams. But after that, she would be his official girlfriend. Besides, her father already approved of him. Wang Haoran, I already have the blessing of my future father-in-law, Chubai thought, a smug smile touching his lips. What chance do you have? The next day, Saturday. The mock exams followed the official college entrance schedule. The first session of the morning was Chinese. When the timer began, Chubai immediately flipped to the final page to check the composition prompt. Writing styles were too distinct to copy effectively. He planned to tackle the essay using his own skills. He spent 40 minutes working through the essay. It wasn't a masterpiece, but the basics were solid. He estimated he would pull at least 40 out of the 60 possible points. That was enough. Chubai exhaled and prepared to cheat. 40 minutes into the exam, the top students in the room would have already finished the front sections. All he had to do was activate his vision and copy. But as he lifted his head, a large, stern face filled his vision. Student, focus on the paper, Sin Liangkai said, his voice cold. Don't let your eyes wander. Look at your own work. Chubai nodded obediently, his heart sinking. He pretended to work for a few more minutes, waiting for the teacher to move on. When he thought the coast was clear, he tried again. He barely looked up before Sin Liangkai was back. What are you looking for? Do you want to cheat? The teacher warned. One more look and I'll disqualify you immediately. Chubai forced his head down, staring at the black ink of his test paper. Suddenly, the screech of a chair moving against the floor echoed through the quiet room. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Sin Liangkai dragging a stool over. The teacher sat down right next to Chubai's desk, staring at him with unblinking intensity. Is this guy insane? Chubai cursed silently. He wanted to swing the stool at the man's head. With the teacher sitting inches away, cheating was impossible. He struggled through the rest of the test on his own, praying the man would eventually get bored and walk away. He was disappointed. Sin Liangkai didn't move an inch until the bell rang. Chubai left the room feeling drained. He had definitely failed the Chinese portion, which would tank his total score. He tried to cheer himself up. If math and the science subjects went perfectly, he could still be saved. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, the math test began. The moment the papers were distributed, Sin Liangkai pulled his stool over and sat down beside Chubai once again. The color drained from Chubai's face. It's over. Chapter 29. Cheating overturned. Sunday, 5 o'clock. The conclusion of the English test marked the official end of the joint mock exams. Chubai emerged from the examination room, his face a mask of bitter disappointment. Evening self-study would proceed as scheduled, but a reprieve of over an hour remained before the bells rang. In a foul mood, Chubai sought the riverbank not far from the school to clear his head. He had barely cleared the school gates when he ran into the old principal. Young man, why do you look so lost? Did the exam go poorly? Hello, principal. Chubai greeted him with a respectful nod. It's just a mock exam. If you didn't perform well, so be it. This score doesn't dictate your future, the old man offered with an encouraging smile. The principal is right, Chubai said, forcing a grin. If only it were that simple. The real sting wasn't the grade, it was the loss of his wager for Sumlian's affection. The depression gnawing at his gut was immense, but it wasn't something he could explain to the principal. "I see you're heading out. Aren't you going to have dinner?" the principal asked. "I'm just going for a walk to relax. I'm not hungry." Young people who skip meals are asking for stomach problems. "You must eat on time. My house is close by, and I was just heading back for a meal. Come with me." Chubai hesitated, but the offer was too significant to refuse. To be invited into the principal's home was a massive honor, a level of prestige even the teachers rarely achieved. This was a chance to build a powerful connection. He feigned a polite decline at first, then nodded in agreement. The following morning, the mock exam results arrived. During the break after the second period, the teachers distributed the grade rankings to each class. The atmosphere in Wang Haoran's room instantly turned chaotic. In their liberal arts track, Sun Weian and Wang Haoran shared the top spot in the class. Both held a total score of 682. While the result was reasonable given their history, the fact that they tied perfectly down to the single digit was a remarkable coincidence. A score of 682 in liberal arts was elite. If they maintained this during the actual college entrance exams, every top-tier university in the country would be open to them. Their reputations as the class scholars remained unshakable. As Sun Weian scanned the top 10 names and saw no sign of Chubai, the knot of anxiety in her chest finally unraveled. "You owe me a milk tea," Wang Haoran said, appearing at her side. "Don't worry, you'll get your drink," Sun Weian replied, her smile radiating pure relief. This was their pact. Wang Haoran would ensure Chubai didn't cheat, and she would pay the bounty in tea. Where exactly is Chubai on this list? Out of curiosity, she scanned the middle of the report. She looked through the names, front to back, but found nothing. "Look at the very bottom," Wang Haoran suggested. Sun Weian's eyes skipped to the end. The last one. Her mouth hung open in shock. Chubai hadn't just failed to improve, he had regressed to his original status as the class's most famous crane tail. "I suspect he cheated during the last monthly exam," Wang Haoran added, twisting the metaphorical knife. "This result shows his true level. So that's it. I actually thought his grades jumped because of my tutoring and his own intelligence," Sun Weian admitted, stunned. "Has all that reading ruined your brain? If he tells you something that ridiculous, you actually believe it." Wang Haoran's tone was full of mock contempt. How can you be so mean?" Sun Weian pouted. He was talking to a girl, after all, and he'd basically told her she was out of her mind. "I'm not being mean. I'm reminding you to recognize the real Chubai. Don't be deceived by his lies. Stay away from him. Boys love to lie so much," Sun Weian muttered. She glanced at him out of the corner of her eye. "Will you lie to me?" Wang Haoran met her gaze. Her eyes were blazing, and deep within that moist, bright stare, he could see the unmistakable ripples of affection. She was truly falling for him. But for a villain like him, this wasn't quite enough. When boys lie to girls, it's usually for one of two things: money or sex. "Do you think I need to lie to you for either?" Sun Weian blinked, looking a bit confused. Wang Haoran smiled and leaned in closer. "I have my own money, so I don't need yours. As for the sex, well, I told you my thoughts on that already, but you seem to have forgotten. Do you need me to repeat it?" Recognition hit her, and her face turned a bright, angry red. "I know. You're not interested in me. I remember." "Good. Just making sure." Wang Haoran walked away with a triumphant whistle. Sun Weian watched his back, stomping her foot in frustration. She wanted to ignore the arrogant boy, but his face seemed to be permanently etched into her mind. Ding. The host provoked the heart of the heroine Sun Weian. Reward 200 villain points. Wang Haoran was delighted. Now that her favorability was high, even teasing her yielded rewards. This was going to be fun. Don't look down on people. The joint exam is coming, and then you'll see who the real failures are. You're all garbage. Just wait until my grades slap you in the face. Across the classroom, a group of students erupted into laughter, repeating those exact words over and over. Chubai sat at his desk, his face as dark as the bottom of a coal pot. The words being mocked were his own. A few days ago, he had played the role of the diligent scholar, making a scene of his hard work during morning study, and annoying everyone around him. When they complained, he had snapped back with those arrogant claims. Now, his words were being fed back to him as poison. Ding. The host manipulated events from the shadows, preventing the protagonist from cheating. Reward, 300 villain points. Wang Haoran watched the spectacle with detached amusement. As a top-tier villain, he didn't need to join in the petty mockery. That was low-end work. If he wanted to ridicule someone, he'd send a lackey. But with half the class already tearing Chubai apart, his intervention wasn't even necessary. He opened his system panel to check his balance. Villain points 1,800. Wealthy at last. Wang Haoran immediately spent 1,000 points on actor-level acting skills. With 800 points left, he decided to try his luck with a prize draw. Ding. Host luck triggered. You have drawn the villain's perspective ability, a 5,000 point value. Would you like to integrate it now? Of course. Don't save it for next year. Wang Haoran nearly jumped out of his seat. This was Chubai's signature golden finger ability, X-ray vision, and he had snagged it for a fraction of its cost. Time to test it. He focused his concentration on Sumwayan. Within seconds, his breathing grew heavy. He stared for a long moment, before reluctantly pulling his gaze away. Sumwayan usually wore the standard school uniform, loose, baggy, and designed to hide the figure. But the uniform couldn't hide everything from his new eyes. It seemed her adolescent nutrition was even better than he had imagined. He had rated her a 95 before. Now, he bumped her up to a 97. A cold thought struck him. Was he the only one who had seen this? System, has the protagonist Chubai used his powers on the heroines? Inquiring about the protagonist requires 100 villain points. Proceed. Do it. The protagonist Chubai has never used his powers on any of the heroines. Wang Haoran relaxed. It made sense. Most protagonists in these stories carried a sense of misplaced moral superiority. They were too high-minded for such voyeurism. Unlike a villain, who simply wanted to see and then looked. Still, he reminded himself to be moderate. Too much of that would be bad for the health. The constant barrage of insults from his classmates finally snapped Chubai's restraint. The pressure in his chest exploded. He slammed his hand onto his desk with a thunderous bang. Shut up, every one of you. Keep talking and see what happens. The room went silent. Chubai's history of street fighting with local thugs gave him a genuine air of ruthlessness. The ordinary students were instantly intimidated. Wang Haoran frowned. He didn't like the silence. He leaned over, patted Fan Jian on the shoulder, and whispered a few choice instructions. Chapter 30. The Principal's Favor. Fan Jian shoved his way through the crowd, stopping directly in front of Chubai. He puffed out his chest, a sneer twisting his features. What are you going to do? You're just a poor student. A piece of trash. Isn't that what everyone is saying? You want to hit someone because of that? Go ahead, try it. Your grandfather is standing right here, waiting for you to swing. I bet this grandson doesn't have the guts to touch me. Fan Jian's face remained a mottled mess of purple and green bruises from his previous encounters. Combined with his arrogant tone, he looked like a man begging for a fresh disaster. Chubai's fists squeezed tight, his knuckles turning white. Grandson, you want a fight? Why wouldn't I dare? Chubai's voice shook with suppressed rage. Fan Jian craned his neck, thrusting his jaw forward. His expression was a caricature of defiance, practically inviting a strike. The pressure in Chubai's chest finally snapped. He lunged forward, and a sharp crack echoed through the room as his palm connected with Fan Jian's cheek. The slap felt incredible, a momentary release of all the humiliation from the weekend. But as the sting faded, regret began to sink in. Fan Jian's behavior had been a trap, a blatant provocation. Sure enough, Fan Jian didn't retaliate. He spun on his heel and marched toward the door to report the assault. However, he hadn't even cleared the threshold before he turned back around. He wasn't alone. An elderly man walked into the classroom behind him. It was the school principal. Chubai's worry instantly transformed into relief. He stepped forward with a respectful greeting. Most of the surrounding students didn't recognize the old man, but at Chubai's lead, they followed suit, offering polite salutations to the high-ranking official. The principal nodded to the class with a grandfatherly smile. His eyes settled on Chubai and Fan Jian. I heard what happened just now from outside, the old man began. His voice was calm, settling over the room like a heavy blanket. You two are classmates. It is a rare fate to be brought together in this life. Classmates should understand and love one another. A long, winding speech followed. It was a masterclass in psychological conditioning, a gentle brainwashing that had the students nodding along in agreement. They were convinced by the old man's wisdom. Wang Haoran, however, saw the situation with perfect clarity. The principal was shielding Chubai. Despite the long-winded lecture and a few light words of criticism, there was no actual punishment. No detention, no marks on the record. Fan Jian had taken a slap for nothing. The old principal is clearly a heavy hitter for the protagonist's camp, Wang Haoran thought. He's the kind of supporting character who turns the tide at the last second, making things difficult for the villain. In the world of these stories, such characters were dangerous. They provided a safety net for the hero, allowing them to escape consequences that would ruin anyone else. I need to find a way to deal with this old man, Wang Haoran decided. I can't let him keep bailing Chubai out. Once the conflict was settled, the principal asked to speak with Chubai privately. The two men walked toward the playground, strolling along the track as the sun climbed higher. The mock exam is over. One poor performance doesn't define you, the principal said, patting Chubai's shoulder. The college entrance exam is the only thing that matters. That is when we see your true character. The principal is right. Chubai's mood brightened. The failure of the mock exam didn't matter as long as he performed when it counted. He wouldn't have to worry about Sin Liankai during the real thing. Those proctors were outsiders, strangers who wouldn't have a personal vendetta. If any teacher tried to sit next to him and intimidate him during the finals, he could protest that they were interfering with his concentration. Success felt like a sure thing. You look like you're feeling better, the principal noted. Go on back to class. Principal, I have a small request. I hope you'll consider it. Speak, the old man said with a smile. When I was at your house for dinner last night, you mentioned you were going to play stone gambling with a friend this afternoon. The principal raised an eyebrow. You want to go as well? Don't let my age fool you. I come from a family with a legend in stone gambling. I've learned the essence of the trade. My success rate is 90%. The principal hesitated, but Chubai pressed on, his voice dropping into a somber, emotional tone. Please, take me with you. My family is struggling. My parents work so hard, and I just want to earn some money to help them. The principal looked at him, moved by the display of filial piety. Chubai's oath seemed sincere. Fine, go and ask your teacher for leave. Our head teacher, she isn't the easiest person to talk to, Chubai said with a sheepish grin. I was hoping you might help me with that part. He knew Song Zhenyu was still simmering with anger over the incident with Wen Jing. If he went to her, he'd likely get a lecture instead of a hall pass. That afternoon, Wang Haoran found a quiet corner and pulled out his phone. He dialed his mother. In his memories, she had always been blunt. Our family has deep connections. You can bully whoever you want at school. He didn't know the specifics of those connections, but he knew they were formidable. The phone rang until the voicemail picked up. He tried several more times, but the result was the same. She was likely deep in meetings at the company. Realizing a phone call wouldn't suffice for a matter this delicate, he decided to visit her office in person. But first, he needed to secure his own leave. He headed to the faculty office. Song Zhenyu was alone, slumped over her desk. She had spent the previous night grading English papers until 4 in the morning, and was currently trying to catch a few minutes of sleep during the lunch break. Wang Haoran crept into the room. He leaned close to her ear and began to sing softly, his voice a smooth, melodic whisper. I hold you tightly in my arms. Hold you in my hand. Who told me that I really love you? In the pure world of love, you are my only one. Never and never doubt. Song Zhenyu's eyes fluttered open. The familiar, affectionate tune pulled her from her daze. She found herself staring into the face of a handsome boy, and a subconscious smile touched her lips. Ding. The host touched the heart of Song Zhenyu. Reward 200 villain points. I know you sing well, but you don't have to haunt the office with it, she said gently. She wasn't angry about being woken up, she was just exhausted. I'm really sleepy. Sister Zhenyu, I need a favor. I'd like to ask for leave. Wang Haoran slid the request form and a pen onto the desk. Another one? She asked, her voice trailing off. Who else asked today? Chubai. She looked annoyed just saying the name. I didn't want to approve it, but he had the principal call on his behalf. I couldn't exactly say no. Wang Haoran frowned. What was Chubai up to? He pushed the thought aside for now and pointed to the signature line. Sister Zhenyu, please. Song Zhenyu didn't bother asking for a reason. In her mind, Wang Haoran was the perfect student. If he was asking to leave, it must be for something vital. She scribbled her signature on the form without another word. Chapter 31. The Prince of Gaoxi Tianxiang. Wang Haoran stepped out from the school gates and into the waiting luxury of a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. The SUV glided through the city streets, eventually coming to a halt before a towering office building that pierced the skyline. This entire monolith belonged to a cosmetics empire known as Gaoxi Tianxiang. The woman behind it all? Wang Haoran's mother. The driver pulled away to park, leaving Wang Haoran to walk toward the lobby. In the center of the vast first floor, a young woman staffed the front desk. On a scale of 1 to 100, she was easily a 90. In the world of cosmetics, this was par for the course. The front desk was the face of the brand, and beauty was the primary requirement. In his memories, Wang Haoran had only visited this place a handful of times, and he had been much younger then. It was unlikely anyone on the ground floor would recognize him. He initially considered walking straight past the security guards, and while he certainly had the combat skills to bypass them, he decided it was unnecessary. He approached the front desk to follow the standard procedure. A line of 5 or 6 people stood ahead of him. Wang Haoran had no intention of waiting. He bypassed the queue, stepping directly to the front. As the prince of this domain, the idea of standing in line at his own company was a joke. The receptionist froze. She stopped her current task and fixed a serious gaze on him, her large eyes tracing his features. Wang Haoran felt a flicker of déjà vu. Was this how the plot was supposed to go? Was she about to scold him and call for security? Would his mother then descend like a deity to reveal his true identity, leaving the girl to apologize in a fit of panic? It really is young Master Wang, she said, her serious expression melting into a dazzling smile. You are much more handsome in person than in your photos. You've seen my photo? Wang Haoran asked, surprised. Of course. President Zhen has your photo in her office, and there's one in every single corridor of the building. Wang Haoran blinked. He realized then that his mother had plastered his image everywhere simply so she could see her son whenever she wanted. The classic protagonist trope of being ridiculed by staff only to reveal a secret identity was a luxury he didn't have. For a villain, life was apparently much more straightforward. I need to see President Zhen, he said. Please let her know I'm here. Right away, young Master Wang. The woman snatched up the landline. After a brief exchange, she turned back to him. The secretary says President Zhen is currently in a meeting. I'll take you up to her office so you can wait in comfort. Ignoring the disgruntled people still waiting in line, the receptionist led him toward the elevators with practiced enthusiasm. The doors slid shut, and the lift began its smooth ascent to the 28th floor. It's so stuffy in here, she complained suddenly. Wang Haoran looked up at the vents. The air conditioning was humming perfectly, and the exhaust system was moving plenty of air. He didn't feel a hint of heat. However, his confusion vanished when he saw her reach up to unbutton the top of her neckline. She fanned herself with her hand, turning her face away, yet she managed to step noticeably closer to him. The view from his perspective was significant. He kept his gaze steady as the doors finally chimed open. They stepped into a long corridor. Just as she had said, framed photos of Wang Haoran lined the walls at regular intervals. Any employee walking these halls would recognize the prince instantly. The hallway seemed to stretch forever, populated by a parade of workplace beauties. Their long legs were a dazzling distraction. As a cosmetics firm, the hiring criteria clearly favored aesthetics. Those who didn't meet a high standard of beauty or poise simply didn't make the cut here. Despite the cool air pumping through the building, many of the women they passed seemed to find the atmosphere quite hot. They adjusted their collars or smoothed their skirts as they caught sight of him. Fortunately, Wang Haoran's time with Wen Jing had prepared him for such a dangerous environment. He maintained his composure, navigating the sea of perfume and silk until they reached the executive suite. Here we are, young Master Wang, the receptionist said, pausing at the door. Thank you. She hesitated, her hands fidgeting with her phone. Young Master Wang, could I add you on WeChat? He looked at her, arched a brow. She grew visibly nervous and hurried to explain. I just mean, if you're on my list, you can message me before you arrive next time. I can make sure everything is ready for you. Wang Haoran knew exactly what she wanted, but he didn't call her out. He pulled out his phone and displayed the QR code. She scanned it with trembling fingers, her face lighting up as the connection went through. My name is Du Ning, she said quickly, clutching her phone to her chest before scurrying back toward the elevators. Wang Haoran walked into the outer office. A woman rose from a sleek desk, offering a respectful bow. Hello, young Master Wang. I am President Zhen's secretary. He took her in. Her beauty was on par with Du Ning's, but her stature was far more imposing. She wore high heels that pushed her past the 6-foot mark, with a natural height of about 5'8". Her silhouette was striking. If Du Ning was a 90, this woman earned a 93 just for her poise. My mother certainly knows how to pick them, he thought. What can I get you to drink? The secretary asked. Just water. Wang Haoran sank into the plush office sofa. She moved quickly to pour the glass, leaning over the low table to set it down. Please wait just a moment. President Zhen is in a meeting. I'll go check on the progress and return with an update. Wang Haoran nodded. As she moved away, his eyes caught the name on the ID badge pinned to her lapel. Fang Suan. In the executive conference room, Zhenli was at the end of her patience. She sat at the head of the long table, surrounded by the company's top brass. They had been debating business strategies since the early morning, and so far, not a single plan had met her standards. The door creaked open. Fang Suan stepped inside, signaling that she had an urgent message. Did I not make myself clear? Zenli snapped, her face cold. No interruptions until this meeting is finished. Do you not understand English? President Zen, someone is here to see you, Fang Suan explained, keeping her voice steady despite the tension in the room. I don't care who it is. Tell them I'm busy. Tell them I'm not here. Just make them go away. Zenli slammed a hand onto the table, making the executives jump. Are you all incompetent? Does anyone have a plan that actually works, or am I paying you to sit in silence? Fang Suan didn't want to provoke the boss further. Very well, President Zen. I will tell your son to head back. Fine, do that, Zenli muttered. Then, the words registered. She froze, her head snapping up. Wait. What did you just say? My son is here? In the building? Chapter 32. Another heroine. Yes, President Zen, he's in your office now, Fang Suan replied, her voice trembling slightly under the weight of her boss's previous outburst. The meeting is over. Zen Li's command sliced through the room. The thunderous rage on her face vanished instantly, replaced by a glow as warm as a spring breeze. The speed of the transformation left the executives stunned. Only moments ago, she had claimed she was far too busy for anyone. Now, the mere mention of her son's arrival had ended an essential corporate strategy session. The executives didn't linger to question the logic. They scrambled toward the exit like prisoners granted a sudden amnesty. President Zen, the plan isn't finalized, Fang Suan whispered, struggling to keep pace. After all those hours, wouldn't it be in vain? Go back to my office, Zenli interrupted, her tone final. Fang Suan fell silent. She finally understood. In President Zen's world, the multimillion-dollar interests of the company were a distant second to the whims of her son. My dear son, Mom missed you to death. Zen Li's reaction upon entering the office mirrored her husband's, but where Wang Xiang offered a backslapping hug, she grabbed Haoran's head and planted several firm kisses on his brow. Bright lipstick marks bloomed across Wang Haoran's forehead. He stood there, feeling a complicated swirl of emotions. He hadn't quite managed to say the word mom yet. Only 10 days had passed since his soul had merged with this body, and he still required an adaptation period to get used to such aggressive maternal affection. He took a moment to study her. Zenli had married and given birth very early. Though she had an 18-year-old son, she was only 36. Her disciplined maintenance routine made her look barely 30, a striking urban beauty. It was clear where Wang Haoran's looks originated. He was the beneficiary of some truly excellent genes. In the original plot, after the protagonist dismantled the Wang family's empire, the family's enemies had been relentless. As the mother of the villain, Zen Li's fate had been horrific. Following a series of cruel and inhuman persecutions, she had eventually taken her own life in a state of absolute shame. I'm an adult, Haoran said, gently wiping the red marks from his skin. Don't treat me like a toddler. You'll always be my baby. Zen Li smiled, reaching out to help him rub the stains away, though they proved stubborn. Fang Suan stepped forward with a wet tissue, carefully cleaning the young man's forehead. Son, your father mentioned you're looking for a girlfriend? Zen Li raised her eyebrows suggestively. The two of you went to a hotel together, so it must be official. Is she pretty? Wang Haoran sighed. His parents were a matched set of eccentricities. Shouldn't you be asking me about my studies instead? Right. How is school? What did you score on the mock exam? 682. That high. Zen Li nearly jumped with excitement. As expected of my son. You're a genius. Fang Suan's eyes widened. Given how much President Zen doted on the boy, the secretary had assumed Wang Haoran was a typical silk pants second-generation rich kid who only knew how to spend money. Finding out he was a top-tier scholar was a genuine shock. Stop bragging for me. I didn't come here for a pat on the back. Understood. Zen Li turned to her secretary. Fang Suan, take my son's account details. Go to the bank and transfer 5 million. No, make it 10 million. Fang Suan's jaw practically hit the floor. In this family, pocket money arrived in 8-figure sums. Zen Li patted Haoran's shoulder earnestly. No need to be frugal. Spend it however you like, and find as many girlfriends as you want. Don't worry about the cost. We don't make money just to stare at it. Wang Haoran felt a strange touch of warmth. This mother truly had his back, even if her methods were extreme. Let's focus. I have something important to discuss with you. The secretary, sensing the shift in tone, bowed and slipped out of the room. Once they were alone, Wang Haoran skipped the small talk. Does our family have a relationship with anyone higher up than the principal of Mizusawa Middle School? Did that principal mess with you? Zen Li's eyes narrowed dangerously. What happened? I'll find someone to take care of him. Wang Haoran blinked. The villainous blood in this family was thick. She went straight to lethal force without a second thought. I'll handle the specifics. Can you just answer the question? I know the director of the Mizusawa Education Group. We aren't best friends, but the relationship is solid. The director? That's perfect. Wang Haoran's mood brightened. Mizusawa was a private institution, meaning the principal was ultimately just an employee answering to a board. Can you arrange a meeting for this afternoon? I'll try. Zenli dialed a number and spoke for a few minutes. When she hung up, she smiled at her son. It's all set. We have an appointment. I'll clear my schedule with the secretary and go with you. Your company is already a mess today. Just send me the address. I can handle it. If you can't reach an agreement, call me immediately and I'll step in. Zenli sent a location pin to his phone. A jade factory? Wang Haoran asked, looking at the map. She's a busy woman and couldn't get away from her current task. Her name is Tang Bingyun. She's 29. Zenli walked him toward the door. The Tang family is primarily in the jade and jewelry business. They only moved into education a few years ago, but Tang Bingyun is incredibly capable. She's turned that group around in record time. Wang Haoran grew thoughtful. She's very beautiful, isn't she? How did you guess? She's stunning, really, but she has a bit of an icy personality. Zenli kept talking, but Wang Haoran had already tuned her out. He was certain now. Tang Bingyun was another heroine. The Iceberg CEO was a classic trope. It would be more surprising if she wasn't part of the protagonist's future harem. The school flower, the beautiful teacher, and now the frozen president. Wang Haoran felt a surge of annoyance at the author of this world for stacking the deck so heavily in Chubai's favor. After a few more words with his mother, he set off. The jade factory sat in the quiet suburbs. His Cullinan ate up the miles on the nearly empty roads. As he gazed out the window at the passing scenery, a classic car parked not far ahead caught his eye. Chapter 33. Jade Factory. A vintage classic car rumbled down the road ahead, its body caked in layers of dust. It was the kind of vehicle that should have been a joke, yet its presence on the road suggested a background of power that kept ordinary people from daring to provoke it. The old principal owned a car exactly like that. When he drove it, no one laughed. Could it be the principal's car? Wang Haoran focused his concentration, activating his perspective. The world blurred into a shimmering overlay until he could see through the metal frame of the vehicle ahead. It really is him. And Chubai is in the passenger seat. The mystery of Chubai's sudden leave of absence was solved. The principal was personally chauffeuring the boy. But to where? Wang Haoran checked the digital map on his console. This road led to a cluster of industrial zones. The factory district. They're going to the jade factory. His mind cleared instantly. Everything clicked into place. Chubai possessed the same X-ray vision he had just used. Based on every online novel trope in existence, a protagonist with perspective was destined to gamble on stones. Qingling City didn't have a massive raw stone market, but jade factories often purchased rough batches to process. If an iceberg beauty like Tang Bingyun was at the factory, and a protagonist with perspective was rushing to the battlefield, the script was written. Chubai would use his powers to identify a few rare gems, and the cold president would be stunned into submission. It was a routine. A tired, predictable routine. If there was a 90% chance Tang Bingyun was the heroine before, it was now 100%. The fact was hammered home. Drive faster, Wang Haoran commanded his driver. As fast as this car can go. The Cullinan roared to life. In terms of sheer performance, the luxury SUV could leave that dusty classic car trailing behind by 100 streets. Perspective? Chubai wasn't the only one with that gift anymore. If he didn't intercept this opportunity, he wouldn't be worthy of the title of villain. 20 minutes later, the Cullinan skidded to a halt at the gates of the jade factory. Given the pace of the principal's car, it would be at least another 20 minutes before they arrived. Perhaps longer, considering Wang Haoran had discreetly arranged for a few unfortunate delays further back on the road. Zenli had called ahead. A female assistant met Wang Haoran at the gate to lead him inside. President Tang is currently in the workshop with some friends, the assistant explained as they walked. She can't step away quite yet. I'll take you to the reception area first. Is she busy with something specific? Wang Haoran asked with a friendly smile. The assistant was a plain woman, who rarely interacted with handsome men, let alone a boy with a charm rating that broke the scales. Even though he was under 20, his wealth and looks were a potent combination. She found herself unable to resist his polite inquiry. The factory recently acquired a batch of rough stones. President Tang invited some friends over to try their luck. There it was. Rough stones. Could you take me to see them? Of course. The assistant nodded, changing direction. If the boy had to wait anyway, he might as well wait where the action was. President Tang had told her to receive the guest well, and a simple request to view the original stones seemed harmless. The assistant led the way, with Wang Haoran following closely, and his driver trailing behind as a bodyguard. A few minutes later, they entered a massive shed constructed of aluminum alloy. It was a temporary structure, designed specifically to house the rough stones for viewing. About 10 people were gathered inside, a mix of various ages and backgrounds. In the center of the crowd, a young beauty in a long black dress stood out like a diamond in the rough. Wang Haoran didn't need to guess. That was Tang Bingyun. He approached, his eyes tracing her features. Her face and figure were elite. A 98. Sumwayan had only scored a 97, but that was a matter of circumstance. Sumwayan was a student who wore no makeup and loose uniforms. If she dressed up, she would easily match this score. 2 98-point heroines. Wang Haoran cursed the imaginary author once again, for the sheer effort put into the protagonist's future harem. As he observed Tang Bingyun, she glanced his way. It was a fleeting look, indifferent and cold, before she immediately turned back to the stones. Wang Haoran felt a twinge of annoyance. I'm a guy with charm beyond the charts, and I don't even get a second look. She truly fit the iceberg mold. She clearly disdained rich young masters. The female assistant noticed the tension, and stepped forward to explain. President Tang, the guest said he wanted to see the factory floor, so I brought him here. Tang Bingyun flicked a cold gaze toward Wang Haoran. She possessed a natural disgust for the second-generation wealthy. If Zhenli herself had come, Tang Bingyun would have been the perfect host. But the son? She felt no obligation to give him face. In her mind, she was of Zhenli's generation. This boy was effectively a nephew. Why should an elder bow to a junior? Hello, Miss Tang, Wang Haoran initiated. You really have no manners, Tang Bingyun snorted. Her voice was sharp. I am of your mother's circle. You should address me as an equal to her. Hello, Aunt Tang, Wang Haoran replied with a pleasant smile. Internally, he wanted to press her arrogant head into the dirt. She looked barely older than Song Zhenyu, perhaps 22 or 23, yet she insisted an 18-year-old call her aunt. It was absurd, especially since Wang Haoran's actual soul was 30 years old, making him technically her senior. He kept the smile plastered on his face while his mind raced. Sooner or later, I'll deal with you. You like taking advantage of people with titles? One day, I'll make you call me Dad. Good. I'm entertaining friends and I'm not free now. You wait over there, Tang Bingyun said, her words dropping like icicles. Of course, Auntie Tang. You focus on your work. I'll wait. I only hope we can finish before 5. I have evening study and I'm terrified of being late. He spoke with a slight tremor of timidity, his eyes wide and innocent. He projected the image of a studious, well-behaved boy. His driver was stunned. If he hadn't personally witnessed Wang Haoran taking girls to hotels, he would have bought the act entirely. The cold mask on Tang Bingyun's face cracked slightly, showing a hint of astonishment. This rich kid seemed different from the arrogant brats she usually encountered. Ding. The host has successfully altered Tang Bingyun's perception. The original plot direction has been affected. Reward 100 villain points. Chapter 34. This little mouth is sweet. Tang Bingyun studied the timid boy standing before her, and a sudden pang of regret pricked her conscience. After all, he was only an 18-year-old high school student. Even if he were a troublemaker, how bad could a boy his age really be? She realized she shouldn't have lumped him in with those arrogant, second-generation heirs who spent their lives drifting from one drink to the next. He was her friend's son, and he had been perfectly polite, calling her Aunt Tang several times already. As an elder, showing him such a cold face felt beneath her. I almost forgot to ask, she said, her icy tone softening into a calm, approachable voice. What is your name? My name is Wang Haoran. Wang Haoran? A good name. It suggests a righteous spirit. Tang Bingyun offered him a small, appreciative nod. Wait here a little longer. I promise this won't take too much time. I don't mind waiting, Auntie. Wang Haoran gave her an innocent, wide-eyed look. Deep down, he was mentally whistling. Wow, Aunt Tang really is something else. That figure is simply. He caught himself. Stay calm. Focus. I'm here to cut the protagonist's luck, not to stare. Wang Haoran cleared his throat and gestured toward the ground, playing the part of the curious novice. Aunt Tang, why are there so many stones scattered about? And what do those numbers on the labels mean? The change in her attitude was palpable. Seeing his genuine curiosity, she was happy to educate him. These aren't ordinary stones, Haoran. These are rough stones. They look unremarkable on the outside, but they likely have valuable jade hidden deep within. The labels tell you the price in units of 10,000. If you see a 10, it means the stone costs 100,000. Oh, I see, Wang Haoran replied, pretending this was brand new information. Buying a stone for 100,000 to open it is a gamble, she continued. You might make a massive profit, or you might lose everything. This is what we call stone gambling. What kind of jade is considered high quality? Tang Bingyun signaled for her assistant to bring over a jade identification manual. She spent several minutes patiently walking him through the different grades and textures. Wang Haoran's learning ability was formidable. He quickly absorbed the basics until he could distinguish the nuances of a premium find. I'll take this one for 200,000, a middle-aged man shouted from across the shed. The crowd surged toward the center of the workshop as the stone master prepared the saw. The screech of the blade filled the air. After a tense few minutes, the stone fell open. Tang Bingyun leaned in, squinting at the exposed core. The transparency is decent and the color is acceptable, but there are too many impurities. It's worth maybe 150,000. She looked up at the man. I'm sorry, Mr. Li. You've taken a loss on this one. I'm willing to admit defeat, the man grumbled, though he didn't seem too discouraged. What's 50,000 in the grand scheme of things? Determined to make a comeback, he immediately picked another stone for 500,000. It opened to reveal a $100,000 loss. Growing desperate, he pointed to a large piece priced at 800,000. This time, the saw revealed nothing but worthless rock. By the time he stepped back, the man had lost 950,000. He looked pale and finally admitted defeat. With such a dismal start, the enthusiasm in the room evaporated. Most of the guests were not professional gamblers, they were simply curious friends of Tang Bingyun who had come to see the spectacle. Watching someone lose nearly $1 million in 10 minutes was a cold shower for their wallets. Tang Bingyun didn't mind. She wasn't running a casino, these were her stones, and she had intended to open them herself anyway. Seeing that the crowd had grown bored, she prepared to select a few more. Aunt Tang, I want to try, Wang Haoran said, his eyes scanning the shed before landing on a specific stone. I want to open this $600,000 piece. Tang Bingyun hesitated. You want to play too? This is. I have the money. I can transfer it to you immediately. It's not about the money, Haoran. I'm worried you'll lose your pocket money, and I won't know how to explain it to your mother. It's fine, Wang Haoran insisted, already lifting the stone toward the master. It's just my spare cash. My mom won't mind how I spend it. The stone master looked at Tang Bingyun for confirmation. President Tang? Open it, she commanded. She had noticed that the stone Haoran selected looked promising. Even if he lost, the quality of the exterior suggested he wouldn't lose everything. She just didn't want Zhenli accusing her of swindling her son later. The crowd gathered around once more, whispering. Hundreds of thousands in pocket money? Whose kid is this? Someone asked. He's the son of Wang Xiang and Zhenli, Tang Bingyun replied. The heir to the Wang Group and Gaoxi Tianxiang. No wonder. The bystanders sighed, looking at Wang Haoran with a mix of envy and pity. To them, he looked like a fool with more money than sense. They had just watched a man lose a fortune, and here was a 20-year-old boy throwing himself into the same fire. They imagined the family's billions would be squandered in record time. The saw bit into the stone, and the master sprayed water over the cut. As the debris cleared, a vibrant, transparent emerald green shimmered through the mist. President Tang, what is that worth? Someone called out. Is it 60,000? 60,000. Tang Bingyun's eyes widened as she leaned in for a closer look. That's at least 3 million. The audience erupted into an uproar. They stared at the boy in disbelief. Wang Haoran maintained a calm exterior. He had already seen the jade through the stone's shell. However, to keep his secret, he put on a look of stunned delight. I actually won. You made a fortune, Tang Bingyun confirmed. The master finished the job, carving away the excess rock until the full jade piece was revealed. After being weighed and appraised by the factory's professional master, the final price was set, 3.5 million. Wow, I made 2.9 million profit. Wang Haoran cheered. This is fun. I want to go again. He randomly pointed to another stone nearby. That piece is 3 million, Tang Bingyun warned, placing a hand on his arm. If it's a dud, you'll lose everything you just made plus another 100,000. Why don't you pick a smaller one? Wang Haoran looked at her with a pure, innocent expression. It doesn't matter, Auntie Tang. If I win, I'm happy. If I lose, I was just opening it for you anyway. It saves you the trouble of doing it yourself later. I'm happy either way. Tang Bingyun felt a flutter of genuine emotion. His words didn't feel fake or calculated. He just seemed like a sweet, generous boy. What a sweet mouth you have, she said, her smile reaching her eyes for the first time. Chapter 35. What a good boy. Master, hurry up. Wang Haoran urged the stonecutter. Okay. Master Kai-shi nodded, his hands trembling slightly. Though he was a seasoned veteran, opening such an expensive rough stone was a rare occurrence, and the weight of the moment pressed down on him. He took a deep breath, adjusted his grip, and steadying himself, ignited the machine. A few minutes later, the first facet of the rough stone emerged from the spray of water and stone dust. The cut surface revealed nothing but dull, gray rock. No hint of jade color appeared. The crowd shifted, a collective sigh rippling through the onlookers. This was a bad omen. The stone looked like scrap. Is it a loss? Tang Bingyun moved closer, her voice carrying the generous warmth of an elder. Haoran, even if it's waste, I won't let you suffer. I'll cover your 100,000 yuan loss. Wang Haoran showed no sign of distress. Instead, a bright, cheerful expression lit up his face. Is it really waste? That's great. If I lose the money myself, then you won't have to take the hit, Aunt Tang. He looked genuinely happy at the prospect of losing. Tang Bingyun had no way of knowing his inner calculations. To her, his smile appeared entirely sincere, devoid of any calculated pretense. A wave of warmth filled her heart. She had only met this boy an hour ago, yet he showed her such selfless kindness. She hadn't expected Zenli to have a son so pure and genuine. Ding. Total favorability from heroine Tang Bingyun has increased by 10. Current total 20. Status very friendly. Ding. The host has influenced the original plot direction. Reward 200 villain points. Haoran, listen to me, Tang Bingyun said solemnly. I know you study at Mizusawa Middle School. I happen to be the manager of the Mizusawa Education Group. If anyone ever bullies you at school, you come to me. I will make sure they regret it. Thank you, Miss Tang. Wang Haoran beamed at her. It's Aunt Tang, she corrected gently. Right. Thank you, Aunt Tang. He nodded, though a part of him felt a bit ridiculous. She was only a few years older than him, yet she clung to the title. For now, however, he played the part perfectly. He couldn't afford to offend her yet. The stone master adjusted the stone's position and made a second, deeper cut. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the shed shifted. It felt like a boiling pot finally overflowing. This is Imperial Green, glass species. Master Kai-shi screamed. In over 40 years of business, he had only seen jade of this caliber once before. His hands flew with renewed purpose, working steadily until the full picture of the stone emerged. The piece was massive, at least twice the size of the previous find. This piece of Imperial Green must be worth more than 60 million, Tang Bingyun whispered. A fleeting trace of regret flickered in her mind. She had purchased this stone for only 3 million. If Wang Haoran hadn't stepped in, that massive profit would have been hers. But she immediately felt a surge of self-reproach for the thought. She had seen how he reacted when he thought the stone was a dud. He was willing to bear the loss to save her money. He deserved this win. She pushed her selfishness aside and offered him a heartfelt congratulation. The people around them were nearly green with envy. The prince of the Wang family wasn't just born lucky. His gambling luck was supernatural. In a matter of minutes, he had cleared 60 million yuan. I won again? Wang Haoran jumped with excitement, leaning into the persona. I'm on a roll. I want to keep playing. Luck is a limited resource, Haoran, Tang Bingyun warned. Long-term gambling usually ends in loss. You've won twice in a row. If you keep going, you might lose it all. If I lose, does that mean I'm reducing the losses for you, Aunt Tang? Without waiting for an answer, he turned back to the piles of rock. This time, he didn't just pick one. He moved through the shed with purpose, selecting over 30 rough stones in one go. You're picking too many, Tang Bingyun noted, her brow furrowed. The total price for these is nearly 30 million. The risk is immense. If I lose, I lose. I'll consider it making up for your overhead. I'm happy just playing. Wang Haoran smiled inwardly. He had no intention of leaving these gems for Chubai to find later. There was only one stone master in the shed, and the pace was too slow. Tang Bingyun called in several more masters from the surrounding factory floor. Soon, 8 machines were screaming at once, the shed filled with the mechanical whine of saws and the scent of wet stone. Every few minutes, a surprised shout erupted. Out of the first 8 stones, 7 yielded high-quality jade. The crowd stood in stunned silence. Wang Haoran had intentionally included a few duds in his selection to keep his win rate from looking impossible, but the record was still staggering. An hour later, the work was finished. Wang Haoran had selected 39 rough stones. 33 of them were profitable. After a quick consultation with the factory's appraisers, Tang Bingyun delivered the final tally, 123.6 million yuan. The onlookers' eyes were red with jealousy. Haoran, Congratulations, Tang Bingyun said, her eyes bright. While Wang Haoran had made a fortune, she wasn't losing out. These stones would stay in her factory to be processed into jewelry. Once finished and branded, the value would double. That 123 million would become hundreds of millions in retail value. The top quality imperial green, in particular, would be fought over by the elite. Aunt Tang, these stones were your stock, Wang Haoran said modestly. You screened them yourself. I don't know the first thing about gambling, I only won because of your good eye. The comment hit Tang Bingyun right in the heart. It was true that she had pre-screened the stones, though she hadn't realized the shipment rate was quite this high. Her friends had likely suspected she was trying to offload duds on them, but Wang Haoran's words cleared her of any such suspicion. Haoran, sell these jade stones to me, she said, her voice full of respect. I promise to give you a fair market price. You can have them all at a discount, Wang Haoran replied indifferently. Take as many as you like. Tang Bingyun took a deep breath, looking at the boy. She found herself wishing she had a beautiful niece his age to introduce him to. Good boys like this were a dying breed. Chapter 36. The same routine. The wealthy socialites surrounding Tang Bingyun watched with burning jealousy as Wang Haoran secured his massive windfall. Spurred by greed, they immediately dove back into the hunt for rough stones. Clearly, a boy under 20 couldn't actually possess the seasoned skill required for stone gambling. While choosing his rough stones, he had simply pointed and picked like someone ordering watermelons at a market. To earn such a staggering amount, luck had to be the primary factor. However, the crowd convinced themselves of a different logic. This entire batch of stones must be incredibly profitable. I'll try again. Mr. Li, the middle-aged man who had already lost nearly $1 million, mimicked Wang Haoran's haphazard selection style. He claimed 5 rough stones in a single breath. After a string of losses on individual bids, he reasoned that it was statistically impossible for his luck to remain in the gutter. Following his lead, others began snatching up stones, their faces bright with anticipation. The stone masters fired up the saws. Tang Bingyun and her team of appraisers stood by, ready to deliver the verdict on every cut. Loss of 50,000, loss of 100,000, loss of 250,000, loss of 800,000. The smiles vanished, replaced by expressions that looked as though they had just swallowed something sour. Very few of the stones yielded even a meager profit. Even when someone did earn, the gains were a few paltry tens of thousands, nowhere near enough to cover the staggering deficits of their other picks. By the end of the frenzy, everyone was in the red. The most fortunate among them had lost 300,000, while the most reckless had hemorrhaged 3.3 million. Wang Haoran watched from the sidelines, his chest tight, as he fought to suppress his laughter. He knew the truth. Among the remaining stones, there was practically nothing of value left. Every single one of these losses would have originally been borne by Tang Bingyun. Instead, these friends had stepped up to take the blame, filling the financial hole in her inventory with their own cash. Young Master Wang, Mr. Li approached, his voice low as he sought counsel. Tell me the secret to these stones. Can you teach me your method? Wang Haoran shrugged. You saw me pick them, Mr. Li. Did I look like I was using a method? There's no secret. It's all luck. The answer left the man speechless. He could only assume the Wang family's ancestral tombs were emitting some kind of holy smoke. They were clearly blessed. Not only was the family business thriving, but their descendants possessed an uncanny, almost divine, gambling fortune. The rumble of an engine interrupted the somber mood as a dusty classic car pulled up outside the factory. The old principal stepped out, followed closely by Chu Bai. Little brother Chu Bai, the principal said, his tone skeptical. Are your skills really that sharp? You can truly win 9 times out of 10? To be honest, I've never tried it in the field, Chu Bai admitted, though his voice was steady. But I've studied the techniques of a true master. There won't be a problem. In reality, Chu Bai had only schemed a few jade identification articles online. That was more than enough. He was already mentally calculating how to spend the fortune he was about to make. Never practiced. That sounds like a lot of talk on paper. The principal paused, looking at the boy. Whether it's on paper or not, you'll see the results soon enough. Chu Bai radiated confidence. He didn't need experience when he had X-ray vision. For him, this wasn't gambling. It was just picking up money from the floor. Then I'll open my old eyes and wait to be impressed. The principal smiled, his anticipation returning. The two walked into the large shed, and Chu Bai immediately found himself face to face with Wang Haoran. A flash of astonishment crossed Chu Bai's face, followed quickly by a sneer of disgust. In his mind, Sum Lian was a kind, lovely girl who deserved real happiness. The boy standing before him was nothing but a wealthy scoundrel, utterly unworthy of her affection. I have to talk to Muyan, Chubai thought. I can't let her be ruined by someone like him. Wang Haoran didn't need to read minds to guess what was happening behind that scowl. He could practically hear the protagonist's self-righteous monologue. Will she be happy with you instead? Anyone you like ends up in your collection. It's ridiculous. He acknowledged the irony. He was a scumbag in this story too, but at least he was honest about it. Wang Haoran shook off the thought and stepped forward to greet the principal. Tang Bingyun followed, her curiosity piqued. Elder Ren, what brings you here? She asked. Though she was technically his superior in the business hierarchy, she held a deep respect for his reputation in the academic world. My old eyes are failing me, so I was driving slowly, the principal explained, a hint of resentment creeping into his voice. Then I hit a flat tire. I don't know who was immoral enough to scatter nails across the road, but it held us up for quite a while. Is the car still on the shoulder? I can have a tow truck sent out, Tang Bingyun offered. No need. This young man here helped me change the spare. We're all set. The principal gestured toward Chubai. Wang Haoran blinked in surprise. He actually changed the tire himself. Impressive commitment. Tang Bingyun turned her gaze toward Chubai. The boy who had been brooding over Sumwian seconds ago now stood frozen. All thoughts of the school flower vanished, replaced by the striking woman in the black dress. Her face, her temperament, her presence. She was breathtaking. How incredible would it be to call her my girlfriend? Chubai wondered. Tang Bingyun felt his lingering gaze and frowned. Elder Ren, who is this stranger? This is one of my students. He heard about the stones and wanted to play. A boy this young thinks he can gamble on stones? Tang Bingyun's lip curled into a sneer. Beauty, don't let my age fool you, Chubai said, chin lifting. When it comes to the skill of stone gambling, I'm the best in Qingling. No one else even comes second. You should be careful. Words that big might catch in the wind. You don't believe me? Let's make a bet. I'll choose 10 stones. If I win 8 of them, I win. Otherwise, the loss is mine. Tang Bingyun bristled at his arrogance. And if you win? If you win, I'll work in your factory for a lifetime for free, Chubai declared boldly. If I win, you become my girlfriend. Tang Bingyun's brow darkened. Nearby, Wang Haoran sighed. This Chubai really was a one-trick pony. First the bet with Sumwian, now this. Can't you find a new routine? It's a bet every single time. Is it really that interesting? Chapter 37. Surrender and lose half. Beauty, why don't you answer? Do you dare? Seeing that Tang Bingyun remained silent, Chubai pressed her. Tang Bingyun snorted coldly. She wanted to ignore the boy entirely, but his persistence was beginning to grate on her nerves. This kid was barely out of his teens. What could he possibly understand about the intricate art of stone gambling? If he actually wins, she thought, I'll make him sign a contract to work in the jade factory for the rest of his life. We'll see how confident he feels then. You're very confident, she began, her voice level. Okay, then. Wait. Wang Haoran stepped between them, cutting her off. This is none of your business, Chubai snapped, his annoyance flaring. What are you doing? You and I are in the same class, aren't we? Wang Haoran asked calmly. Chubai's brow furrowed. That's right. Why bring that up now? Just answer the question. Wang Haoran took a step forward. Your family background is modest, and your grades are consistently at the bottom of the class, right? Wang Haoran, what are you trying to say? Chubai's voice rose in anger, his pride clearly wounded. Since you aren't denying it, it proves I'm right. Wang Haoran's tone sharpened, cutting through the air like a blade. We are classmates, which makes us of the same generation. This woman is older than me. As a member of the younger generation, your lack of respect for an elder is shameful. Your background is ordinary, your performance is poor, and your words are frivolous. It is pure delusion to think you can climb the ranks of a wealthy lady like this. Wang Haoran gestured toward Tang Bingyun. A fair gambling contract requires equal capital. Your labor over a lifetime is limited and cheap. The happiness of Aunt Tang's life is priceless. Are you really not embarrassed to propose such a lopsided deal? Wang Haoran, you're so special. Chubai's face flushed a deep crimson. A string of swear words threatened to spill out, but he forced himself to swallow them. He cursed his own lack of education. His eloquence simply couldn't match Wang Haoran's stinging logic. On top of that, he didn't want to ruin his image in front of the old principal, or the Iceberg beauty. Haoran, you're right, Tang Bingyun said, her irritation fading into a calm disdain. I don't need to waste my time on this kid. Ding. The host stopped protagonist Chubai's routine on heroine Tang Bingyun. Reward 200 villain points. Wang Haoran's throat felt dry from the speech, but the notification made it worth the effort. He turned back to Chubai, striking while the iron was hot. If you are really so interested in a bet, I'll take you on. Just as you proposed, you choose 10 rough stones. If you profit on 8 of them, you win. Otherwise, I do. As for the stakes, name your price. I'll play to the end. Chu Bai's eyes lit up. Do you mean that? Everyone present is a witness. Then it's a deal. Chu Bai shouted with sudden joy. If I win, you stay away from Sun Weian. You won't say a single word to her ever again. If I lose, I'll stay away from her and never speak to her myself. Wang Haoran almost laughed out loud. The sheer audacity of the protagonist was staggering. Can this even be considered stakes? Sun Weian barely tolerated Chu Bai as it was, while she was growing closer to Wang Haoran every day. If Chu Bai won, Wang Haoran would lose everything. If Chu Bai lost, Wang Haoran gained nothing he didn't already have. What are you laughing at? Are we betting or not? Chu Bai demanded. We're betting. Wang Haoran was fearless. He knew Chu Bai couldn't win. You're going to lose, Wang Haoran added casually. But before we start, I have to ask, did you bring enough money to buy 10 stones? Just a friendly reminder, the cheapest rough stones here start at 5,000. Chu Bai froze. He remembered his finances. Between his recent bonus for reporting Sang Kun and his medical bills, he only had about 7,000 yuan left in his pocket. It wasn't even enough for 2 stones, let alone 10. Little brother Chu Bai, go ahead and pick, the old principal intervened. I'll cover the cost for the stones. Thank you, principal. I'll pay you back immediately, Chu Bai said gratefully. He turned toward the stones in the shed, a smug smile returning to his face. He focused his vision, letting his perspective pierce through the rocky exteriors. 1 minute passed. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Ding. The host successfully prevented protagonist Chu Bai from gaining 200 villain points through stone gambling. Interception complete. How much longer are you going to stare at them? Wang Haoran urged. Have you picked yet? The confidence had drained from Chu Bai's face. He looked confused, then shocked, and finally embarrassed. Beauty, there's something wrong with your inventory, Chu Bai said, turning to Tang Bingyun with a serious expression. I've looked at over 50 rough stones. According to the prices marked, there isn't a single one here that would turn a profit. You're acting like a clown, Tang Bingyun snapped. We've opened plenty of winners today. We even found a piece of imperial green. How could there be a problem? Someone already found a winner? And imperial green? Chu Bai's jaw dropped. Who opened it? That would be me, Wang Haoran said lightly. I opened 39 stones earlier. I turned a profit on 33 of them. All in all, I think I made about 120 million. Do you even know how to judge jade? Not at all. Today was my first time playing. I suppose I'm just lucky, Wang Haoran explained. He checked his watch. Don't stall. If you can't find anything, just admit defeat and we can go. I won't admit defeat. Then start cutting. Chu Bai went silent. He knew there were no winners left. He was trapped. How about this? According to the rules of the streets, we'll call it surrender and lose half. I admit defeat, you win half the stakes. I won't ask Sun Weian to help me with my lessons anymore. Wang Haoran stared at him, genuinely shocked by the boy's shamelessness. He's a total bum. But for Chu Bai, this was standard procedure. He spent his time with street punks and delinquents. Losing a bet and haggling over the consequences was second nature to him. Tang Bingyun watched the exchange with growing disgust. To her, a man who couldn't stand by his word was pathetic. Principal Ren, this student of yours is incredibly shameless. Is he? The old principal chuckled. I think he's quite clever. Surrender and lose half is an interesting rule. Tang Bingyun frowned. The principal was clearly biased toward the boy, but she held her tongue. Wang Haoran wasn't surprised either. The old principal was a diehard supporter of the protagonist. Even Chu Bai's worst behavior would be viewed through rose-colored glasses. The principal turned his smile toward Wang Haoran. You're in the same class. There's no need for things to be so stiff between you. Accepting half a loss seems like a fair compromise. What do you think? What else can I say? Wang Haoran replied with a thin smile. The principal's mind was made up. There was no point in arguing. He would just have to wait and see exactly how long the old man could keep pulling Chu Bai out of the fire. Chapter 38. The Toy Gun Routine. Since you won't open the stone, there is no point in you staying. Please leave. Tang Bingyun's voice was cold as she issued a direct order for Chu Bai's eviction. Wang Haoran watched the exchange with hidden amusement. While both he and Chu Bai were students at Mizusawa Middle School, the old principal clearly didn't believe in equal treatment. His blatant favoritism toward Chu Bai was starting to grate on Tang Bingyun. To her, Chu Bai didn't look like a student at all. He looked like a street rogue. She glanced at the principal, her expression tight with confusion. She couldn't understand why a man of his stature would coddle such a person. Despite her growing dissatisfaction, she kept her tongue in check out of respect for the elder. But Chubai was a different story. This factory was her domain, and she wanted him gone. Beauty, a visitor is a guest, Chubai said, spreading his hands with a nonchalant grin. Don't be like that. It seems you don't know who I am. Let me clarify so you can listen carefully. I am the managing director of your school's parent group, the Mizusawa Education Group. Chubai's grin faltered. He stood dumbfounded, realizing this iceberg beauty held even more power than the principal standing next to him. Send him out, Tang Bingyun ordered, turning her back on him. She didn't have time for gossip. Her female assistant stepped forward to enforce the command, her face mirroring her boss's disgust. Wang Haoran leaned back, satisfied. This seemed like a definitive end to any potential connection between the protagonist and the heroine. But just as the thought crossed his mind, a chaotic shout erupted from outside the shed. Stop! Don't let him run! The sudden movement startled the group. Before anyone could react, a thin, flustered man burst into the shed, his eyes darting around like a trapped animal. Several security guards were hot on his heels. Realizing he was cornered, the man lunged forward. In a desperate scramble, he grabbed the person closest to him, Tang Bingyun. Ah! Tang Bingyun gasped as she was jerked backward. Don't come any closer. The man screamed at the guards. Let go of President Tang. You have nowhere to go. The guards warned, though they continued to edge forward, closing the circle. Don't force me. The man reached into his jacket and pulled out a heavy, black handgun, pressing the barrel against Tang Bingyun's temple. The security guards froze. They instinctively retreated several paces, their faces pale. None of them had expected a common thief to be armed. Wang Haoran felt a jolt of adrenaline. He shifted his weight, his mind reflexively cycling through Wing Chun forms to disable the man. Then he stopped. No matter how high his combat level, a human body was no match for Lead. But something felt off. This was Qingling City, a place with incredibly strict weapon laws. Where would a petty thief get a firearm? He narrowed his eyes, focusing on the weapon in the man's trembling hand. The realization hit him like a cold splash of water. It was a toy. A high-end, realistic toy, but a piece of plastic nonetheless. Another routine, Wang Haoran thought, his jaw tightening. Everything in this world is a damn routine. Tang Bingyun's favorability toward Chubai was in the gutter. This was the classic hero saves the beauty setup designed to flip the script. If he could see it was a toy, Chubai, with his protagonist's perception, undoubtedly knew it as well. With Chubai's combat strength, taking down a scrawny thief would be child's play. Hey, friend. Be a man and let the lady go. Chubai's voice rang out, steady and bold. Wang Haoran looked over and saw his classmate stepping toward the gunman. Don't act rashly. You'll get her killed. The guards shouted. I have it under control. Don't worry. Chubai's voice was calm, almost bored. Don't come here. I'll kill her, I swear. The thin man threatened, his voice cracking as he waved the toy gun at Chubai. Kill me? Go ahead and try. Chubai was fearless, his eyes locked on the thief. The man panicked. His psychological defense was crumbling. Was this kid suicidal? Or did he know the gun was fake? No, that was impossible. From this distance, it looked identical to the real thing. This boy just didn't value his life. Stop. One more step and she's dead. The man repositioned the barrel against Tang Bingyun's head. Don't, please don't, Tang Bingyun stammered. She had never faced such a life and death situation. Her face was as white as paper, and her voice trembled uncontrollably. If you want money, I can give it to you. Tell this kid to back off. The thief ordered, his grip tightening on her arm. Chubai, please. Just stay where you are, Tang Bingyun begged. Don't be afraid, Chubai said, stepping forward inch by inch. I promise I will save you. Wang Haoran saw the game clearly now. Chubai wasn't pointing out the fake gun, because he wanted to be seen as a man of extraordinary courage. He wanted Tang Bingyun to think he was risking his life for hers. The thief retreated until his back hit the corrugated metal of the shed wall. He was trapped. Let her go, Chubai pressured. Boy, aren't you afraid to die? The thief's face twitched with fear. My life is cheap. If I die, I die, Chubai said, pointing a finger at his own chest, right over his heart. If you've got the guts, pull the trigger, right here. The thief looked ready to break. He knew his weapon was useless. He couldn't kill anyone, and he couldn't escape. He was on the verge of dropping the toy and surrendering. But Wang Haoran wouldn't let the scene play out. Chubai, if you want to die, that's your business, but don't drag President Tang into your suicide pact. Wang Haoran shouted, stepping toward the security guards. What are you standing there for? Can't you see this kid is trying to provoke the gunman? He's trying to get her killed. Pin him down before he does more damage. The guards snapped out of their daze. They didn't see a hero, they saw a reckless teenager putting their boss in further jeopardy. They swarmed Chu Bai. Even with his combat skills, he couldn't fight off 5 trained men without looking like a criminal himself. Within seconds, they had him pinned to the floor. Wang Haoran, you idiot. I almost had him. Chu Bai hissed, his face pressed against the dirt. Wang Haoran ignored him. He reached down and grabbed a heavy rag used for cleaning rough stones. He walked over to where Chu Bai was struggling. You're delusional, Wang Haoran said, leaning down. You're making the situation worse. Can't you see the danger? Before Chu Bai could retort, Wang Haoran balled up the rag and stuffed it firmly into the protagonist's mouth. That the G-fake Chu Bai tried to shout that the gun was a toy, but the words died in his throat. He could only produce muffled, desperate grunts that no one could understand. Chapter 39. Replacing the hostage. Wang Haoran stepped toward the thin man, his pace measured and deliberate. Behind him, his driver lunged forward, arm outstretched to shield the boy. The man's posture was absolute, a living wall ready to intercept a bullet for his young master. Just say what you need, Wang Haoran said, his voice cutting through the stifling tension of the shed. As long as you don't hurt the hostages, everything is negotiable. I need a car and 5 million in cash. The thin man shouted, emboldened by the sudden shift in power. I want it in 10 minutes. Hurry up, and don't call the cops, or I'll kill her. Wang Haoran held out his hand, and the driver placed the car keys into his palm. There are no banks nearby. Getting that much cash in 10 minutes is impossible. However, Wang Haoran gestured toward the driver. I just opened a piece of imperial green jade. It's worth more than 60 million yuan. The driver hurried forward, clutching the brilliant, translucent stone. Greed flickered in the thief's eyes, momentarily distracting him from his grip on Tang Bingyun. The keys and 60 million are right here, Wang Haoran said, holding the key in one hand and the jade in the other. Take the stuff and walk in front of me, the thin man commanded. The woman and I will follow behind. Okay, but I have a request. Let her go and take me instead. I will be your hostage. Tang Bingyun, her body trembling with a visceral, bone-deep fear, looked at Wang Haoran in disbelief. I can stay as the hostage, it's fine, she stammered, though her voice betrayed her. Look at you, Wang Haoran said gently. You can't speak clearly and your legs are shaking. You're too nervous. Let me replace you. Tang Bingyun stared at the figure before her. For the first time, she didn't see a boy. She saw a man possessed of an ironclad masculinity and staggering courage. Ding. Total favorability from heroine Tang Bingyun has increased by 20. Current total 40. Status very close. Ding. The host has influenced the plot direction. Reward, 300 villain points. Controlling a woman is easier than controlling a man, the thief spat, his eyes darting between them. Do you think I'm stupid? Wang Haoran didn't argue. Instead, he scooped up a heavy rag from the floor and held his wrists out to his driver. Tie my hands, he ordered. Then, he turned back to the gunman. I'm the heir to the Wang Group. I have tens of billions in assets to inherit. I don't gamble with my life. With my hands tied like this, you can be sure of my sincerity. He lifted his bound wrists into the air. If you don't agree, then we're stuck here forever. And I don't think you want that. His tone hardened. He knew the man was cornered. The weapon was a toy, a harmless piece of plastic, but the atmosphere of danger was his greatest tool. By emphasizing his wealth and his fear for his own life, he was selling a narrative the thief couldn't resist. The thin man hesitated, his face twitching as he weighed his options. Wang Haoran waited in silence. If the man refused, he would simply end the charade with a burst of Wing Chun, but for now, the theater of the hostage swap was too valuable for building Tang Bingyun's devotion. A minute passed in agonizing silence before the man finally nodded. Fine, I'll take you. He leveled the gun at Wang Haoran's head. But if you play tricks, you won't live long enough to see a cent of those billions. Wang Haoran chuckled inwardly. The man was holding a toy and playing the part of a cold-blooded killer with surprising dedication. Don't worry, I won't mess around. I'm coming over slowly. Once you have me, let the lady go. His wrists were tied, but his palms remained free. He had the driver wrap the imperial green in another rag, creating a makeshift sling he could easily grasp. Then, he walked toward the gunman. Haoran, don't. Shut up. Tang Bingyun's plea was cut short by Wang Haoran's sharp, stern command. As a powerful president, she was used to being the one giving orders, the one receiving nothing but deference. Normally, such a tone would have sparked her fury, but in this moment, she felt small, protected, and strangely obedient. Wang Haoran reached the man. The cold plastic of the barrel pressed against his temple, and the thief shoved Tang Bingyun away. She stumbled back, free at last, but there was no joy in her escape. Her eyes remained locked on Wang Haoran, filled with a desperate, agonizing worry. Nobody move. The thief screamed at the room. Walk, boy. If you try anything, I'll blow your brains out. Tang Bingyun's friends huddled in the corners, shivering in silence. The old principal stood as still as a statue. Near the back, the security guards continued to pin Chubai to the dirt. By now, Chubai had managed to spit out the rag. The dramatic trope of being unable to remove a loose cloth was, in reality, nonsense. He could speak now, but he chose silence. He knew the gun was a toy. If Tang Bingyun were still the hostage, he would have shouted the truth to save her. But with Wang Haoran in the line of fire, let him sweat, Chubai thought. Let the rich boy piss himself in front of everyone. That would be a real show. But as the thief began to lead Wang Haoran away, a sudden, heavy thud echoed through the shed. Hey! The thin man yelped, his voice high and panicked. Chapter 40. Heroes Save the Beauty. Every eye in the shed fixed on a single spot. The heavy piece of imperial green jade slipped from Wang Haoran's grasp and struck the dirt with a dull thud. The thin man jerked, a sharp exclamation escaping his lips. Over 60 million yuan sat in that bundle. If the impact cracked the stone, the loss would be astronomical. Be careful. What if you break it? The thief's voice cracked with frantic greed. Wang Haoran felt a flicker of secret amusement. It's my jade, he thought. Why are you the one losing your mind? He knew the thick layers of cloth protecting the stone would easily absorb the shock from such a short drop. The thing is heavy, Wang Haoran said, his voice laced with feigned struggle. My hands are tied. It's hard to keep a grip on it. The thief growled but realized he couldn't exactly untie his high-value hostage. Trapped by his own avarice, the man slowly began to squat, reaching for the bundle on the ground. He remained cautious. Even as he lowered himself, the black barrel of the toy gun stayed trained on Wang Haoran, and his eyes never left the boy's face. In that heartbeat of distraction, the rope around Wang Haoran's wrists, already loosened by his own design, fell away. Wang Haoran lunged. He closed the distance in a blur, his fingers clamping onto the gun. The two men collided, twisting together in a desperate scramble for control. The driver and the security guards moved to intervene, but the struggle was chaotic. The barrel of the weapon whipped back and forth, pointing randomly at the crowd. The onlookers recoiled, terrified that a stray shot would end them. No one dared to get close. Wang Haoran grappled with the skinny man, making it look like a dead heat. To anyone watching, it seemed neither could gain the upper hand. In reality, Wang Haoran could have ended the fight in seconds. A few calculated strikes of Wing Chun would have left the man begging for mercy. But the theater was necessary. He allowed the struggle to continue, the gun barrel sweeping the room, until he positioned it perfectly. Suddenly, the weapon stopped moving. It pointed directly at Tang Bingyun's heart. Tang Bingyun froze, her soul nearly departing her body. She stared down the dark hole of the barrel, knowing that a single twitch of the thief's finger would end her life. Wang Haoran chose that exact moment to move. He threw his body in front of hers, acting as a human shield against the threat. Tang Bingyun's heart trembled. He's willing to give his life for mine? Ding. Total favorability from heroine Tang Bingyun has increased by 10. Current total 50. Status heartfelt love. Ding. The host has significantly altered the plot. Reward 500 villain points. Chubai's protagonist Halo -30. Host's villain Halo +30. With the distraction complete, the security guards finally swarmed. They tore the weapon from the thief's hand and forced him to the ground. It's fake. The guard shouted, his voice high with relief. It's a toy, just a very good imitation. The tension in the shed snapped like a dry twig. While someone called the police, the wealthy onlookers looked at Wang Haoran with awe. They saw a hero. Chubai, however, felt only a searing bitterness. If Wang Haoran hadn't interfered, he would have been the one to save the day. He struggled against his restraints. Hey, let me go, he yelled at the guards. The security team didn't move to help him. Instead, they loomed over him with suspicious glares. Why did you try to escalate things earlier? You almost got President Tang killed. I knew it was fake. Chubai shouted. It couldn't hurt anyone, so I wasn't afraid. If you knew it was fake, why didn't you say anything? Chubai went silent, his mouth hanging open. He had no answer that wouldn't make him look like a predator. Tang Bingyun ignored the boy on the floor and rushed to Wang Haoran's side. Why were you so impulsive? What if that thing had been real? It was a bit dangerous, Wang Haoran said. He wiped a drop of sweat from his brow, playing the part of the shaken survivor. I guess I'm just lucky. Tang Bingyun's anger melted into deep concern. Are you hurt? Are you okay? Just my wrists. The rope was a bit tight. Let me see. She didn't wait for permission. She took his hands in hers and began to gently knead the sore skin of his wrists. It was a commanding gesture, the habit of a woman used to getting her way, but her touch was incredibly soft. The female assistant stood nearby, her jaw practically on the floor. She had worked for Tang Bingyun for years and had never seen her touch a man this way. Tang Bingyun was famous for her distance. She rarely even shook hands with male business partners. This was a monumental shift. Why did you jump in front of me? Tang Bingyun asked. Her moist eyes lifted, searching his. I saw you were in danger. I didn't really think about it. I just moved. Weren't you afraid of dying? There wasn't time to be afraid. Wang Haoran met her gaze, his eyes softening. Aunt Tang, why the sudden interrogation? Tang Bingyun's brow furrowed. Earlier, that title had felt respectful, even endearing. Now, hearing it come from his lips, it felt like a thorn in her side. It's nothing, she said, her voice dropping. Actually, I'm only a few years older than you. Stop calling me Aunt Tang. It's awkward. Wang Haoran suppressed a grin. Now you want to change the title? Too late. My mother is like a sister to you, he said, sounding perfectly innocent. According to seniority, it's only right that I call you Aunt Tang. Tang Bingyun bit her lip, cursing her earlier insistence on the title. She had effectively placed a wall between them that she now desperately wanted to tear down. On the other side of the shed, the old principal untied Chu Bai. The boy stood up, his face dark with rage. He marched over and delivered a sharp kick to the bound thief, before turning to leave. He was done with this place. The jade was gone, the money was gone, and his rival had taken everything. He shot one last, venomous look at Wang Haoran. How is he this lucky? Does he have my power? No. Impossible. I am the chosen one. Principal, let's go, Chu Bai muttered. Wait. Tang Bingyun's voice was sharp. If you saw the gun was fake, why didn't you speak up? I wasn't entirely sure, Chu Bai stammered. Wasn't sure? Or did you want to see if the gunman would kill me so you could play the hero? Chu Bai scrambled for an excuse, but the truth was too ugly to speak. He couldn't admit he'd gambled with her life to satisfy his own ego. President Tang, please, the principal interrupted, stepping between them. Chu Bai did come forward to help. Can't you overlook this? Principal Ren, I always believed you were a man of fairness, Tang Bingyun said coldly. It seems I was mistaken. She turned away, making it clear she wouldn't pursue the matter further, but the damage was done. The principal sighed, realizing that his influence with Tang Bingyun had just vanished. He led a fuming Chu Bai out into the afternoon sun. Chapter 41. Stay away from him. Mizusawa Middle School hummed with the typical afternoon rush. Classes had just ended, and the air smelled of ozone and damp pavement as students flooded toward the cafeteria for dinner. Sumwian slipped away from the crowd, heading toward the milk tea shop just outside the campus gates. She still owed Wang Haoran a drink. It was a promise she intended to keep, even if the thought of delivering it in person made her pulse quicken with a shy, fluttering heat. Wang Haoran had taken a leave of absence that afternoon and wasn't expected back until the late self-study session. This was her chance. She could buy the tea and tuck it inside his desk while the classroom was empty. When he finally arrived, he would find the surprise waiting for him, and he would know exactly who had left it. 2 cups of Mandarin duck milk tea, please, she told the shop owner. She wasn't sure what flavor he preferred, so she chose her own favorite. The 2-cup discount made it an easy choice. As the store owner started the order, a sleek car pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down, revealing a familiar face. Yin Yan. Dad. Sumlian ran to the car, a bright smile lighting up her face. What are you doing here? Just passing through on business. I saw you walking by and had to say hello. Beauty, your Mandarin duck tea is ready. The owner called out. Sumlian grabbed the drinks and turned back to her father. Do you want one, Dad? I can order another cup for you. I don't touch that stuff. Too sweet for me. He shook his head, his eyes narrowing playfully. Mandarin duck tea, and you bought 2. You can't possibly finish both yourself. Which boy are you buying for? Dad, stop being so gossipy. She huffed. You made that bet with Chu Bai a while back, he said, his expression shifting to something more thoughtful. You didn't lose, did you? You aren't his girlfriend now. No way. That guy bragged about being in the top 10, but he ended up dead last on the exam. Sumwin couldn't help but giggle at the memory. Last? But didn't you say he was making progress? Dad, to be honest, Chu Bai cheated. He made that bet just to trick me into being with him. It's actually quite hateful. Cheating? That doesn't sound like him. It's the truth. If Wang Haoran hadn't helped me, Chubai might have actually gotten away with it. Wang Haoran? He's my classmate. The name sounds familiar. I think you've mentioned him before. Her father's brow furrowed. One of those wealthy, second-generation types, isn't he? His family has a lot of money. A Cullinan picks him up from school every day. Stay away from him, Yin. Do you understand? Why? Just listen to me. There aren't many good people among the rich second generation. Dad, you can't just judge everyone like that. Wang Haoran is great. He's a top student, he's handsome, and he's an amazing singer. She trailed off, a small, involuntary smile tugging at the corners of her mouth as she listed his virtues. Her father's frown deepened. Yin, you don't actually like this boy, do you? No, of course not, she denied, her voice rising an octave too high. He watched her closely, his years of experience at the bureau making it easy to spot the tells. I would rather see you with someone like Chubai than that Wang Haoran. What did he ever do to you? Why are you so hostile? Don't bother with him anymore, he said, his voice turning stern and official. It's best if you don't say another word to him. But why? Because I told you so. You've never even met him. Why are you so prejudiced? The second generation are all the same. His face darkened. 20 years at the bureau had exposed him to countless cases of wealthy young men bullying and exploiting women. To him, the title was a warning label. Dad, you're being completely unreasonable. Sumwayan turned on her heel, clutching the milk tea to her chest as she stormed back toward the school gates. Yin, remember what I said. His voice followed her. If you don't listen, I'll go find that Wang Haoran and settle this with him personally. Across town, the hospital doors swished open. Wang Haoran walked out with Tang Bingyun at his side. He hadn't sustained a single scratch during the struggle with the thief, but Tang Bingyun had refused to take any chances, insisting on a full medical examination. A middle-aged woman met them near the entrance. She was the attorney Tang Bingyun had retained, and she had just come from the police station. The suspects were employees of the Jade factory, the lawyer explained. They fell deep into gambling debt and decided to steal from the warehouse. When the security team spotted them, they panicked and fled into the shed. Lawyer, I want you to handle the prosecution personally, Tang Bingyun said. While the state would typically handle the case, Tang Bingyun had no intention of letting the matter go lightly. A thief in her factory was a threat to the family business and her reputation. If a gambler wanted to play for high stakes, he would pay for them in prison. Don't worry, Miss Tang. Leave it to me. Lawyer nodded, then turned her admiring gaze to Wang Haoran. Young man, you were incredibly brave. I just did what needed to be done, Wang Haoran replied with a modest smile. You're still a student, aren't you? I'm a senior at Mizusawa Middle School. What a coincidence. My daughter is a senior there too. Really? What's her name? Wang Haoran asked. Lawyer was in her 40s, but still carried an air of grace and charm. He figured with those genes, her daughter had to be striking. Her name is Sumwayan. Do you know her? Wang Haoran's eyes widened. We're in the same class. The world felt suddenly very small. He looked at the woman again, realizing he was standing face to face with Sumwayan's mother. So you and Yin are classmates. Lawyer beamed. We are. And now I see where she gets it from. Anton, you're so beautiful it's no wonder Sumway and is the school flower. Oh, I'm getting old, Lawyer laughed, her eyes warming with a new, maternal affection for the boy. Chapter 42. Sumwayan's troubles. The office grew quiet after Lawyer departed. Tang Bingyun turned her attention back to Wang Haoran, her expression shifting to business. You came to see me specially. What is it? Let me show you something first. Wang Haoran reached into his bag and produced several high-resolution photos. They were close-up shots of Fan Jian, Fan Tong, and Qin Xiaosheng. Their faces were unrecognizable, covered in deep purple bruises and swollen like overripe fruit. Who are they? Tang Bingyun recoiled slightly at the sight of the battered boys. Why were they beaten so badly? These are my classmates. Chu Bai did this to them. Tang Bingyun narrowed her eyes. Is that the boy from the factory today? The very same. He has serious violent tendencies. Tang Bingyun nodded slowly. She recalled how Chu Bai had lunged at the thief earlier that afternoon. The thief had already been restrained by security, yet Chu Bai had attacked him with unnecessary ferocity. It wasn't the behavior of a normal student. He beat people like this, and the school didn't expel him? He was only fined 30,000 yuan. Tang Bingyun shook her head. For this level of injury, 30,000 is nothing. That's far too light. She paused, realization dawning on her face. The old principal protected him, didn't he? Wang Haoran nodded, dropping the pretense. I came to ask for your help. I want you to use your power as a school director to transfer the old principal to a different position. Without his protection, Chubai won't be so arrogant. Consider it done. Tang Bingyun agreed without a moment of hesitation. The old principal was past his prime, and had long neglected the actual day-to-day affairs of Mizusawa Middle School. A transfer wouldn't harm the institution. Moreover, she found his blatant partiality toward Chubai offensive. It was an injustice she was happy to correct, especially since Wang Haoran was the one asking. I will transfer the money for the jade to your account as soon as possible, she added, asking for his card number. No rush on that. Wang Haoran checked his watch and stood up. Aunt Tang, I have to go. Talk to you soon. Tang Bingyun's face twitched at the title, but the boy was already out the door. She watched from the window as he climbed into his Cullinan and drove away. She stood there for a long time, lost in thought, until her phone vibrated in her hand. It was Zenli. Bingyun, how did the talk with my son go? I promised him what he asked for. Thank you, dear. I'll treat you to a day at the beauty salon when you're free. Zenli sounded pleased, assuming the favor was a nod to their long-standing friendship. That sounds lovely, Tang Bingyun replied. Then, a mischievous glint entered her eyes. Sister Zenli, you're actually the same age as my parents. Speaking of which, I really should be calling you Aunt Zen from now on. The silence on the other end was brief before Zenli's temper flared. Tang Bingyun, what is that supposed to mean? Did I offend you? Are you trying to call me old? Don't think that just because you helped my son I'll let that slide. I'll pay you back for this favor. We have business together. I'll give you 10 million in profit, and we can call it even. I was only joking, Sister Zenli. I'm sorry. Tang Bingyun quickly backtracked, smoothing over the older woman's ego. After hanging up, Tang Bingyun sighed. It seemed bridging the generation gap was going to be more difficult than she thought. The drive back to school was quiet. Wang Haoran sat in the back of the luxury SUV and pulled up his system panel. Host Wang Haoran. Combat Strength 289. Charm 268. Villain Halo 319. Villain Points 1700. Skills Master Level Painting and Calligraphy. Master Level Wing Chun. God Level Singing. Actor Level Acting. Perspective. He had 1700 points. He browsed the system mall until he found the item he wanted, the low-grade youth-retaining pill. The description noted that the pill's effects would last for 30 years. He confirmed the exchange for 1100 points. A small, sweet-smelling pill appeared in his hand. He swallowed it immediately. He felt no sudden surge of power, but he knew the biology was changing. At 18, his clock had effectively paused. When he reached 48, he would still possess the face and physique of a teenager. He would have 30 years of extra youth compared to any normal man. With 700 points remaining, he decided to try his luck with a random draw. He thought of the perspective ability he had snatched from Chubai last time. The system hummed. Unfortunately, the host did not draw a reward. Damn it, he muttered. During evening self-study, Wang Haoran reached into his desk and found a cup of milk tea. It was still slightly warm. He took a sip. It was mandarin duck tea, rich and incredibly sweet. He didn't worry about the sugar. The pill he took earlier would maintain his figure regardless of his diet. As he drank, he glanced towards Sum Weian. From his seat, he could only see her profile. She was staring at her textbook, but her pen hadn't moved in 10 minutes. She was completely absent-minded. When the bell rang for the break, Wang Haoran sent a quick text and headed to the campus flower garden. The trail was quiet, lit by dim lamps that cast long shadows over the stone path. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers. It was a favorite spot for couples, but tonight, Wang Haoran was meeting Wen Jing. She arrived quickly, her face lighting up when she saw him. You called. Sum Weian seems upset, Wang Haoran said, skipping the pleasantries. What happened? Wen Jing's smile faltered. She had hoped this was a private rendezvous, but he was only interested in her best friend. She ran into her father while she was buying milk tea this afternoon. He told her to stay away from you. They had a huge argument about it. I've never even met her father, Wang Haoran mused. Why is he targeting me? Maybe he just doesn't want her dating anyone right now. No, that's not it, Wang Haoran countered. He remembered the bet Chubai had made with Sum Weian. Her father had been perfectly fine with that arrangement. That meant Father Su was a supporter of the protagonist. Do you really care about her that much? Wen Jing asked, her voice tinged with a bit of bitterness. Are you planning to pursue her? Yes. Wang Haoran nodded firmly. He had to. Sum Weian was a heroine. If he didn't win her over, Chubai would. And if the protagonist succeeded, Chubai's halo would grow stronger. while Wang Haoran's vanished. He was playing for his own survival. Wen Jing looked away, her heart sinking. She had suspected it, but hearing him admit it so plainly hurt more than she expected. Chapter 43. Surveillance. Don't worry, even if I win Sun Lian over, I still love you the most. Wang Haoran watched the flicker of insecurity in Wen Jing's eyes and felt a wave of relief as it smoothed over. Really? Her eyes sparkled. Of course it's true. Of course it was a lie. While Wen Jing was beautiful, Sun Lian was in a different league entirely. His preference was clear, but a villain who couldn't spin sweet words was no villain at all. During self-study tonight, I need you to help me ask Sun Lian to go to. He leaned in, whispering instructions to Wen Jing. His villain halo had surged to 319 from its original 99, while Chubai's protagonist halo had plummeted to 137. The math was simple. Wang Haoran's luck now doubled that of his rival. He was no longer restrained by the protagonist's plot armor. Sun Lian's favorability sat at 50, a solid foundation of admiration. Originally, he had planned a slow burn, a gradual increase of her affection before the final harvest. But looking at the shifting board, he decided it was better to strike while the iron was hot. Once he secured her, Chubai's aura would shatter. After dismissing Wen Jing, Wang Haoran pulled out his phone and dialed his father, Wang Xiang. I'm picking up a girl. I need you to help me set a romantic scene by the riverside near the school. Time between 9:30 and 10 o'clock tonight. My son is incredible. Trading up for a new girlfriend already? Wang Xiang's voice boomed with pride. Leave it to me. I'll have the team on it immediately. Thanks, Dad. I'll wait for your update. Wang Haoran hung up and exhaled. He had no real emotional connection to this cheap father, but the man's responsiveness was undeniable. Being a rich, villainous heir certainly had its perks. In the corridor outside the classroom, Chubai's phone vibrated. The caller ID read Sun Lian, but he knew better. She never brought a phone to school. He answered, and a familiar, gruff voice greeted him. Uncle Su, why are you calling me? I have something to discuss. Can you talk? Chubai leaned against the corridor railing, ignoring the handful of students nearby. It's almost self-study, but I can talk now. What's on your mind? Do you like my yin-yan? Father Su asked, his voice cold and direct. Chubai stiffened. He hadn't expected the bluntness, but after a moment of hesitation, he nodded firmly into the receiver. Yes, I do. Good. At least you're honest, Father Su grunted. Was that the only reason you called? Partly. I also want to know if Yin-Yan has been getting close to a boy named Wang Haoran at school. Chubai's eyes lit up. A golden opportunity had just landed in his lap. Yes, Uncle Su. That guy is constantly harassing her. He's a bad seed, a rich kid with a pack of lackeys who bullies everyone. He's obsessed with collecting girlfriends. I knew it. That boy is trouble. Father Su's anger was audible even through the speaker. She's young and naive, Chubai added, pressing the advantage. You really should persuade her to stay away from him. I tried tonight, Father Su sighed. We nearly got into a fight over it. Chubai, I need a favor. Can you keep an eye on her at school? If you see her and Wang Haoran together, you must tell me immediately. No problem at all. Leave it to me. Chubai hung up, a predatory grin spreading across his face. He had hated Wang Haoran for a long time. Now, he had a mandate to dismantle the boy's relationship with Sun Lian once and for all. Wang Haoran returned to the classroom, where a younger brother immediately scurried over to report. The boy had been eavesdropping on Chubai's hallway conversation. Sun Lian's father asked Chubai to monitor her. He wants reports on every contact she has with me. Wang Haoran absorbed the information, his expression unreadable. He pulled out his phone and transferred 10,000 yuan to his informant. This was the beauty of his position in this classroom. He had eyes and ears everywhere. He realized how close he had come to a disaster. He had planned to take Sun Lian to a hotel tonight. If he hadn't known about the surveillance, Father Su might have caught them red-handed, an event that would have ended his plans permanently. The plan has to change, he murmured. The meeting with Sun Lian would go ahead, but the hotel was off the table for now. As for Chubai, let the boy watch. Let him report. Wang Haoran summoned Fan Jian. Boss, what's up? Fan Jian asked, his face still bruised from his encounter with Chubai. Wang Haoran didn't say a word. He simply tapped his phone, transferring 50,000 yuan to Fan Jian's account. Fan Jian stared at his screen, stunned. What is this for? During self-study, go to the nearest bank and withdraw this in cash. I have a task for you. If you succeed, the money is yours. And if I fail, then you might as well jump in the river, Wang Haoran said flatly. It isn't a difficult task, Fan Jian. Don't make me disappointed. Tell me what to do, boss. Wang Haoran leaned in, his voice a low, cold whisper, as he laid out the new instructions. Chapter 44. Strategic Fireworks. Ding. The host has successfully manipulated events from behind the scenes, transferring the protagonist camp's principal to another post. Reward, 300 villain points. Chubai's protagonist Halo, -10. Host's villain Halo, +10. Wang Haoran received the system notification during the quiet hum of evening self-study. The news surprised him. He had expected Tang Bingyun to wait a few days, perhaps letting the bureaucracy of the school board buffer the transition. Instead, she had moved with ruthless efficiency. He had asked her only that afternoon, and by the evening, the order was signed and delivered. With the old principal out of the way, Chubai's primary shield at Mizusawa Middle School had vanished. Next time Wang Haoran chose to strike, there would be no one to soften the blow. The bell rang, signaling the end of the final session. Sumwian moved through the crowd of students, pushing her bicycle toward the front gate. Chubai trailed her at a distance, his eyes fixed on her back. Usually she headed straight home, but as they cleared the school grounds, she veered toward the river. Chubai's curiosity flared, and he followed her into the shadows. He watched as she approached the stone fence bordering the water. A figure stood there, bathed in the dim light of a street lamp. It was Wang Haoran. Fury bubbled in Chubai's chest. Shameless. He wanted to storm forward and shatter the moment, but he caught himself. Rushing in would only make him look like a jealous lunatic, driving Sumwian further into Wang Haoran's arms. He needed a more surgical approach. He pulled out his phone and dialed. Chubai. What is it? Father Su's voice was sharp. Self-study just ended. Sumwian didn't go home. She's having a secret rendezvous with Wang Haoran by the river. What? The sound of frantic shuffling erupted from the other end. Stay there. Watch them closely. Don't let that kid take her anywhere else. I'm coming right now. Chubai hung up, a cold, satisfied grin on his face. He knew exactly what Father Su did for a living. Those fists were seasoned by years of training. When the man arrived, he wouldn't just be angry, he would be a force of nature. Wang Haoran, the pampered rich boy who lived a life of silk and silver spoons, wouldn't last 10 seconds. The show's about to start, Chubai whispered to the night air. What are you hiding here for, Chubai? The voice came from directly behind him. Chubai spun around, his face twisting with contempt. It was Fan Jian. Mind your own business, Fan Jian. If you keep chirping, I'll break your teeth. I don't believe you. Try it. Fan Jian stepped forward, puffing out his chest. Chubai squeezed his fist until the knuckles turned white, but he didn't swing. The old principal had visited him earlier to deliver the news of his transfer. Without that protection, Chubai knew a single fight would lead to immediate expulsion. He forced his hand to relax. Trash, Fan Jian spat. I knew you wouldn't touch me. He swung his skullbag over his shoulder and hopped onto his bicycle, pedaling away into the dark. But as he threw the bag, a heavy, cloth-wrapped bundle tumbled out and landed in the dirt. Fan Jian didn't notice. He kept riding until he disappeared around the corner. Chubai scanned the area. It was empty. He crept forward and snatched up the bundle. His breath hitched as he peeled back the fabric. It was stuffed with thick stacks of red banknotes. A quick estimate put the total at 50,000 yuan. Fan Jian couldn't have this kind of money, Chubai thought, stuffing the cash into his own bag. This has to be a reward from Wang Haoran. It's ill-gotten wealth, but now it belongs to me. He felt no guilt. He considered the money a fair tax for the insults he had endured. By the river, the air was cooling. The early summer heat had broken, replaced by a refreshing breeze off the water. Sumwin leaned her bicycle against the fence, her heart hammering against her ribs. She had never skipped her curfew for a boy before. It was 9:40. She should have been halfway home by now. Why did you call me here? She asked, her voice cautious. The milk tea was good, Wang Haoran said, leaning back against the stone. A little sweet though. Sumwin blinked. You called me all the way out here just to say that? Yes. Why? What did you think I wanted? She went silent, her face heating up. I'm joking, he said, his tone softening. I called you here because I wanted to talk. I know what happened with your father. When Jing told you, didn't she? She can't keep a secret. Sumwin sighed. I nearly had a falling out with my dad because of you. But don't get the wrong idea. I'm only telling you this so you know. It doesn't mean I like you. I know. Wang Haoran watched her, amused by her stubbornness. Good. As long as you understand. You should call your mother, Wang Haoran said, handing his phone to her. Tell her you're walking by the river with a classmate and ask her to pick you up. I can ride back on my own. Right now, the roads are full of students. It's safe. But in 20 minutes, the streets will be empty. It isn't safe for a girl to be out here alone at night. The thoughtfulness caught her off guard. A small, warm glow flickered in her chest. Besides, Wang Haoran added with a playful glint in his eye, have you considered the situation? We're all alone out here. Aren't you afraid I'll try something? If you call your mother, you won't have to worry about being alone with me. Sum Huyen huffed, though she couldn't hide her smile. You think of everything, don't you? She took the phone and made the call. As she spoke to her mother, she couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to be his girlfriend. He was handsome, brilliant, and protective. He made her feel safe, even when he was teasing her. Ding. Teasing heroine Sum Huyen. Reward 200 villain points. Once she handed the phone back, Wang Haoran gestured toward the path. It's beautiful tonight. Shall we walk? Okay. They strolled side by side, the silence of the riverbank stretching between them. Every few steps, the backs of their hands brushed. Their shoulders bumped occasionally. Wang Haoran could feel the tension radiating off her. When he glanced over, her cheeks were flushed a deep crimson. Look over there. He pointed across the river to the far bank. I don't see anything. What am I looking at? Wang Haoran didn't answer. He simply looked at his watch, counting down the final 10 seconds. Bang! A streak of light whistled into the sky, followed by a deafening explosion. A massive flower of brilliant gold bloomed in the darkness, reflecting off the surface of the water. Bang! 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 Dozens of fireworks followed, erupting in a synchronized dance of violet, emerald, and crimson. The entire riverbank was illuminated, bright as high noon. Sum Huyen stood frozen, her eyes wide as the sky caught fire. The surprise and joy on her face were unmistakable as a sweet, radiant smile broke across her lips. Chapter 45. It's all coming. The fireworks lasted for 10 minutes before the sky finally went dark. Rows of launchers lined the entire riverbank, a massive logistical undertaking for such a brief window of time. In those 10 minutes, 800,000 yuan burned into ash and light. Wang Haoran didn't care. He had earned over 120 million today. 800,000 was a drop in the bucket. Does it look good? Wang Haoran stared at Sum Huyen, his peach blossom eyes reflecting the fading embers. Sum Huyen nodded, her gaze fixed on the water. The romance of the display was undeniable. You prepared this? She looked at him, searching for a sign that this was a coincidence. Do you like it? I like it, but why? Her heart hammered against her ribs, a wild, frantic rhythm. I saw that you weren't happy, so I wanted to change that. Wang Haoran stepped closer. Are you happier now? Sum Huyen met his gaze and nodded heavily. Ding. Sum Huyen's favorability has increased by 10. Current total 60. Status heartfelt love. Ding. The host has influenced the plot direction. Reward 200 villain points. Have you put so much thought into simply trying to make me happy? She asked, her voice gaining a sudden, bold edge. Of course. We are friends. Wang Haoran offered a gentle smile. Yes, friends. Sum Huyen returned the smile, but a shadow of disappointment flickered in her eyes. A short distance away, Chubai crouched beside a flower bead, his face contorted with rage. Watching the handsome heir and the beautiful girl share that quiet moment made his blood boil. His fingers dug into the soil, tearing up handfuls of grass and flowers. A car screeched to a halt on the roadside nearby. A thick-set, gloomy middle-aged man stepped out, his posture stiff with tension. Uncle Su. Chubai's anger transformed into predatory joy. He waved the man over. Where are Yin Yan and that boy? Su Zheng asked. His voice was a low growl. The man's physique was powerful, his muscles taut with suppressed fury. Chubai could practically feel the heat of that anger radiating off him. If it erupted through his fists, the results would be devastating. Over there. Chubai pointed behind the flower bead. Su Zheng's heavy footsteps crunched on the gravel as he marched toward the target. Chubai trailed behind, biting his lip to keep from laughing out loud. Yin Yan. The shout cracked like a whip across the riverbank. Sum Huyen jumped, the spell of the evening shattered. Dad? Why are you here? Where's Mom? She looked around, confused. She assumed her mother had sent him to pick her up. Why am I here? Su Zheng's finger shook as he pointed at Wang Haoran. If I hadn't come, this kid would have tricked you into a hotel room by midnight. Wang Haoran felt a jolt of genuine surprise. The old man guessed the original plan perfectly. If not for his informant's warning about the call between Chubai and Su Zheng, that is exactly where they would have ended up. Wang Haoran quickly spent 100 villain points to scan the man's attributes. Supporting actor Su Zheng, current camp protagonist. Status reversible. Combat strength 209. Charm 103. Skill advanced mixed martial arts. A combat strength of 209 was impressive for a normal person, but it paled in comparison to Wang Haoran's 289. Even with the man's mixed martial arts, Wang Haoran's master Wing Chun would make short work of him. Reversible? Wang Haoran thought. That means if I play this right, I can flip him to my side. Dad, what nonsense are you talking about? Sum Wian grabbed her father's arm, holding on tight as he lunged toward Wang Haoran. We were just walking by the river. Su Jing strained against his daughter's grip, his eyes fixed on the boy in the designer clothes. Uncle Su, we've only just met, Wang Haoran said, his voice calm and steady. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? It's 10 o'clock. You lure my daughter out here at night and expect me to believe your intentions are honorable? I can swear it, Wang Haoran said, raising a hand. If I brought Sum Wian here with a single ill-deserved intention, may I be struck by lightning where I stand. He made the vow with a straight face. As a villain, a poisonous oath meant nothing. If the heavens actually struck down every liar, the world would be empty by noon. Stop lying, Wang Haoran, Chu Bai shouted, stepping out from the shadows. I saw you. You tried to grab her hand multiple times. You were trying to force yourself on her. Is it really that easy for you to lie? Wang Haoran asked, genuinely amused. The protagonist was actually framing him. It was a desperate move. You don't think I'd do it? Chu Bai sneered. I think your words speak for themselves. Wang Haoran shrugged, turning back to Su Zheng. The father was shaking with rage, his trust in Chu Bai fueling his hostility. If Sum Wian wasn't hanging onto his arm, he would have attacked by now. Yin Yan. Another voice called out from the path. A woman approached them, her face filled with concern. Wife, why are you here? Su Zheng's anger faltered, his confusion taking over. It was Lawyerin. Yin Yan called and asked me to pick her up, Lawyerin explained. She looked at the tense circle of men. What's going on here? This boy has bad intentions. Su Zheng snarled, throwing another fierce look at Wang Haoran. He lured our daughter out here. Lawyerin looked at Wang Haoran, her eyebrows shooting up in surprise. Young man, it's you. You know him? Su Zheng asked, stunned. I met him today because of a case. She turned to her husband. What are you talking about? This boy was a hero today. He risked his life to stop a thief at the jade factory. Lawyerin recounted the events of the afternoon, describing Wang Haoran's bravery in detail. As she spoke, Su Zheng's rigid posture began to soften. He looked at Wang Haoran again, but the lens of his perception had shifted. His wife was a lawyer, her judgment was clinical and precise. She had no reason to lie for a stranger. If this boy had truly risked his life for justice, he wasn't the stereotypical, spoiled second-generation heir Su Zheng despised. Ding. The host has changed supporting character Su Zheng's perception. Reward 100 villain points. Chapter 46. The Second Knife. Sum Wian stood by the riverside, her breath hitching as her mother described the afternoon's events. She had known Wang Haoran took time off, but she never imagined he had spent it in such a dangerous manner. Dad, I told you that you misunderstood him, Sum Wian said, her voice tinged with a defensive edge. He isn't like the other rich heirs. Do you believe me now? Lawyerin adjusted her glasses, her professional tone softening into something more maternal. Old Su, I think you made a grave mistake. Yin Yan even called me from a borrowed mobile phone. If a boy had wicked thoughts, would he encourage his date to call her mother for a ride home? Su Jing shifted his weight, his gaze landing heavily on Chu Bai. But I heard from him that Wang Haoran was surrounded by a gang of thugs at school, acting like a tyrant and juggling dozens of girlfriends. Sum Wian's eyes widened in shock. She turned toward her father, her expression hardening. How can you say that? There are students who follow him, sure, but he is never a bully. His grades are at the top of the class, just like mine. How would he have time to lead a gang? And as for the girlfriends, that is a complete lie. Is that true? Su Zheng asked, his voice low and dangerous. Chu Bai lowered his head, his face burning with a guilty heat. He had spent so much time slandering Wang Haoran behind his back, never expecting that Su Zheng would confront the boy in front of the very people who knew the truth. I might have exaggerated a little, Chu Bai muttered, biting his lip. Su Zheng's brow furrowed. He appreciated the boy's interest in his daughter, but to smear a classmate's reputation out of jealousy was a mark of poor character. Chu Bai, it isn't right to behave this way, Su Zheng chided. Uncle Su, compared to the fact that he almost killed a man today, a few lies are nothing, Wang Haoran interjected, his voice cool and sharp. Almost killed someone. Su Jing's head snapped toward the boy. You haven't heard? It went like this, Wang Haoran started, calmly recounting Chu Bai's violent outburst at the jade factory. Lawyerin nodded in confirmation. I heard the CEO mention it. She was ready to sue him for assault, but the old principal intervened to protect him. The way Su Zheng looked at Chubai changed instantly. The admiration was gone, replaced by a cold, appraising scrutiny. Ding. The host's strike was successful. Supporting character Su Zheng's perception of the protagonist has dropped to 0. Su Zheng has left the protagonist camp and is now neutral. Ding. The host has influenced the plot. Reward 100 villain points. Wang Haoran suppressed a smirk. This was only the first blow. The second was already on its way. He glanced toward the road, wondering if Fan Jian had lost his nerve. He cursed the narrative luck that gave him such a clumsy lackey. Right on cue, the squeal of bicycle brakes echoed through the night. Fan Jian rolled up to the curb, hopped off his bike, and marched toward the group by the river. "Did you take the money I lost?" Fan Jian shouted, pointing a trembling finger at Chubai. "What are you talking about?" Chubai countered, though a flicker of nerves danced in his eyes. "You lost your money and you come to me? That's pathetic." "I was on the path alone," Fan Jian insisted, moving closer. "I didn't pass anyone else. I bumped into you, and I know I had the money then. Afterward, it was gone. You must have picked it up. Is it in your bag?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Chubai sneered, but his hand moved subconsciously to grip the strap of his skullbag. "Open it and let me see. If it's empty, I'll apologize." "No, I'm not showing you anything." Fan Jian lunged forward, grabbing for the bag. Chubai, far stronger and more athletic, easily shoved him back. Before the scuffle could escalate, Su Zheng stepped between them, pulling the boys apart with the practiced ease of a man used to breaking up fights. Wang Haoran stepped forward, playing the voice of reason. "Fan Jian, your money was lost on the road. Anyone could have found it. Accusing Chubai without proof is unreasonable." Chubai relaxed slightly, surprised by Wang Haoran's apparent fairness. But in the next heartbeat, Wang Haoran's hand blurred. With the speed of a master-level martial artist, he snatched the bag from Chubai's shoulder before the boy could blink. "I'm sure Chubai is innocent. Let's just open it and prove him right." He unzipped the main compartment. A thick, cloth-wrapped bundle of red banknotes sat right on top. "Oh," Wang Haoran said, his voice dropping into a staged, awkward silence. Fan Jian didn't miss his cue. "That's my money. I told you he took it." He pointed at Chubai, his voice cracking with a practiced sob. "I needed that cash for my grandmother's surgery. You were going to steal it for yourself? If she doesn't get her treatment, she could die." Fan Jian's grandmother's illness was a legendary excuse he used whenever he needed a day off school, but the performance was flawless. Everyone, except for Wang Haoran, looked at Chubai with pure revulsion. Ding. Supporting character Su Zheng's perception of the protagonist has shifted to disgust. Ding. The host has influenced the plot. Reward 100 villain points. "I found it," Chubai stammered, his face pale. "I wasn't going to keep it. I just wanted to scare him because he's always so arrogant." The explanation fell flat. It was weak, petty, and did nothing to wash away the look of disgust on the faces of Su Muian and her parents. Wang Haoran watched the scene with quiet satisfaction. As long as Chubai remained a villain in their eyes, he would never gain the hero's favor required to boost his protagonist halo. Suddenly, Su Zheng stumbled. He clutched his lower abdomen, his face contorting in a mask of sudden, sharp pain. "Dad!" Su Muian cried out, reaching for him. The pain seemed to pass as quickly as it had arrived. Su Zheng took a shallow breath and straightened up. "It's nothing. Just a sharp sting on the left side. I'm fine now." "Are you sure? We should go to the hospital," Su Muian insisted. "I'm in perfect health," Su Zheng said firmly, waving her off. "I haven't had so much as a cold in years. I'm not going to a hospital for a stomach ache." "Husband, please," Haoran urged. "I said I'm fine." Wang Haoran watched the exchange, his mind racing. Chubai's luck was down, but the universe often provided the protagonist with a turning point during a crisis. Chubai had the power of perspective. He wasn't a doctor, but he could see through walls and skin. If he diagnosed Su Zheng right now, he could win back the family's favor in an instant. Wang Haoran focused his own vision, activating his perspective ability to peer into Su Zheng's abdomen, looking exactly where the man had clutched his side. Chapter 47. Father Su's Hidden Injury. Wang Haoran activated his perspective vision, focusing directly on the area where Su Zheng had felt that sudden, stabbing pain. Deep within the tissue of the lower abdomen, he spotted a needle-shaped metal object. It was wedged obliquely into the muscle, hidden beneath an almost invisible scar on the surface of the skin. The old wound had long since closed and faded. Without professional imaging, Su Zheng likely never would have found the culprit on his own. The metal fragment must have shifted just now, triggering the localized agony. While Wang Haoran didn't fully understand the mechanics of why the pain was intermittent, he understood the narrative stakes perfectly. This was a textbook opportunity for Chu Bai. With his own X-ray vision, the protagonist would have spotted the object instantly. By diagnosing the issue, he could have secured the undying gratitude of the entire Su family. Judging by Su Zheng's stubborn attitude, the man would never seek help on his own. That was where Chu Bai was supposed to step in. Uncle Su, I really think it's better for you to go to the hospital. Chu Bai's voice rang out, precisely as Wang Haoran predicted. I told you, I'm not going, Su Zheng grumbled, shaking his head. It was just a cramp. I'm not wasting a night in a waiting room for a little sting. Chu Bai, desperate to regain his footing, pressed on. Uncle Su, even if you feel healthy, internal pain can be serious. I once knew a person who. I agree. A checkup is necessary, Wang Haoran said, cutting Chu Bai off mid-sentence. He turned to Su Zheng with an expression of calm concern. Uncle Su, in the spot where it hurt just now, have you ever suffered an injury? Su Zheng paused, looking surprised. Why do you ask that? It's just something I remember from the news, Wang Haoran said slowly, crafting the lie with effortless ease. There was a story about a man who was injured as a child. A small, sharp object pierced his skin, but the wound was so minor he ignored it. As he grew, the object shifted, eventually beginning to graze his internal organs. It caused intermittent, sharp pain, and by the time he finally went to the hospital, the doctors told him that one more day of delay could have cost him his life. Wang Haoran paused for effect, his eyes locked on Su Zheng. That's why I'm asking if you've ever been hurt there before. Su Zheng's expression became grave. Actually, yes. Years ago, I caught a thief. During the struggle, I was stabbed in the abdomen. It hurt like hell at the time, but the puncture was tiny. It healed on its own without medicine, but ever since then, I've had occasional twinges in that exact spot. Tonight though, it felt like I couldn't even draw a breath. That's exactly what I wanted to tell you, Chu Bai blurted out, trying to reclaim the credit. I saw that same news report. I was going to say the same thing. Dad, please go. Just for me and Mom, Su Mulian pleaded, her voice trembling. Husband, even if the chance is small, let's go just to be certain, Lawyer added. Su Zheng looked ready to yield, but Wang Haoran spoke up again. The problem is the time. If you go to a public hospital now, you'll be stuck in the emergency room. Unless you're actively dying, they won't run specialized scans tonight. They'll likely tell you to come back tomorrow morning for a regular appointment. He's right, Su Zheng said, his stubbornness returning. I'm not in an emergency state now. The doctors are tired, and the ER is for people who actually need it. I'll just go tomorrow. Su Mulian and her mother exchanged a helpless look. They knew the man well enough to know he wouldn't be budged once he'd found a logical reason to delay. It's getting late, Wang Haoran said, glancing toward Chu Bai and Fan Jian. We should all head back. We have class in the morning. Fan Jian offered a quick wave and pedaled away. Chu Bai lingered for a moment, glaring at Wang Haoran with unmistakable vitriol, before finally climbing onto his battered bicycle and disappearing into the night. Wang Haoran watched him go, a thin smile playing on his lips. Dismissing the protagonist was only half the battle. Haoran, is your driver coming? Would you like a lift? Lawyer asked kindly. Thank you, Anton, but my driver is just around the corner. I'll give him a call in a moment, Wang Haoran replied. But before I go, I'd like to take Uncle Su to get that examination. Su Mulian looked confused. But didn't you just say the hospitals wouldn't see him tonight? Public hospitals, perhaps. But we can go to the clinic. The clinic. It's a private facility, Wang Haoran explained. The equipment and the specialists there are among the best in the country. It rivals the top international hospitals. Su Mulian looked skeptical. She had lived in Qingling City her whole life, and had never heard of a clinic that powerful. Haoran, are you referring to the Tinwei Clinic? Lawyer asked. As a well-connected lawyer, she had heard the whispers of such a place. Exactly, Aunt An. The Tinwei Clinic was legendary in certain circles. Its medical standards were peerless, but its fees were astronomical. Even those with the money were often turned away. It was a sanctuary for the elite, the powerful, and the incredibly wealthy. Lawyer N's face fell slightly. Her career was successful and her income was high by most standards. But she knew her family lacked the status required to walk through those doors. Mom, is it that hard to get an appointment there? Su Mulian asked, noticing her mother's shift in mood. It's a place for the rich and the influential, Yin Yan, Lawyer said with a sigh. They don't usually take walk-ins from the general public. If they don't want us, we won't go, Su Zheng grunted. He had no patience for elitism. Don't worry, Uncle Su, Anton. They will definitely see you, Wang Haoran said with a reassuring smile. The realization hit the Su family all at once. The Wang family were titans in Qingling City. No matter how prestigious the Tianhui clinic claimed to be, they wouldn't dare turn away a guest of Wang Haoran. Lawyer In and Su Muan felt a wave of relief. If there was a way to get Su Zheng checked immediately, they wanted it. Su Zheng remained silent for a moment. He saw the genuine fear in his daughter's eyes and the quiet desperation in his wife's face. He also saw the effortless kindness in Wang Haoran's offer. Haoran, I appreciate this, Su Zheng said, his voice thick with gratitude. I'll take you up on it. Ding. The host has successfully intercepted the protagonist's opportunity. Supporting character Su Zheng's favorability has increased. Reward 200 villain points. It's no trouble at all, Wang Haoran said, waving a hand as he pulled out his phone. Let's get moving. Chapter 48. Who do you like more? The car glided through the streets, finally coming to a stop before the gates of the Tianhui Clinic. Although the name suggested a modest practice, the sprawling campus beyond the wrought iron gates told a different story. Luxurious, modern buildings rose into the night air, their scale dwarfing the city's largest public hospitals. A young nurse met them at the entrance, her greeting warm and practiced. She led the group inside, where a team of specialists waited. There was no paperwork to fill out, no crowded waiting rooms. Wang Haoran had already briefed the staff on the drive over. Internationally renowned doctors whisked Su Zheng away for immediate testing, leaving Su Muan, Lawyer In, and Wang Haoran to wait in a private VIP suite. The room felt more like a five-star hotel than a medical facility, furnished with deep, velvet sofas, high-end computers, and entertainment systems to kill the time. Would you prefer tea, coffee, or a cold drink? The receptionist asked, her voice soft and attentive. Neither Su Muan nor her mother had the appetite for hospitality. They sat on the edge of the plush seating, their eyes fixed on the door. 10 minutes stretched into an eternity before a doctor returned, a CT scan gripped in his hand. He held the film up, pointing to a distinct, needle-shaped shadow lodged deep in Su Zheng's lower abdomen. The culprit was clear. The metal object has already begun to migrate, the doctor explained, his tone grave. If it shifts much further, it will cause catastrophic damage to his internal organs. It is a stroke of luck that you brought him in tonight. A single day's delay could have been fatal. My colleagues and I have consulted, and our recommendation is immediate surgery. We need your consent to proceed. Do it. Please, just do it as quickly as possible, Su Muan blurted out. Her father's life was the only thing that mattered. Lawyer In nodded in agreement, but her professional mind quickly shifted to the logistics. Doctor, what will the medical fees for this procedure be? Su Muan stiffened. As a student, money was an abstract concept, but she knew the reputation of this place. The cost of emergency surgery at a facility of this caliber had to be astronomical. The doctor opened his mouth to answer, but Wang Haoran stepped in smoothly. Anton, Muan, don't worry about the bill. My family keeps an annual membership here. It covers all examinations and procedures for up to 5 people. Those slots usually go to waste, so Uncle Su is effectively covered. It won't cost you a cent. The membership actually cost several million yuan a year, a steep price for peace of mind. For the wealthy, it was a specialized form of insurance. One call, and a helicopter would be on its way to a rooftop pad. I appreciate that, Haoran, but I should still know the amount, Lawyer In insisted. I intend to pay you back. Anton, honestly, the membership is already paid for. Whether Uncle Su uses it or not, the money is gone. If you pay me, you're just giving me money for something that was already free for us. Please, let us do this for him. Lawyer In looked at the young man, seeing the sincerity in his expression. She didn't push further. Thank you, Haoran. Truly. Thank you, Su Muan added. She looked directly into his eyes, her voice thick with emotion. It's nothing, Wang Haoran replied, flashing a sunny smile. What's between us? You don't need to say thank you. The warmth in his gaze, paired with his effortless charm, sent a jolt through Su Muan. She held his look for a heartbeat too long before turning away, her face flushing a deep pink. Ding. Heroine Su Muan's favorability has increased by 10. Current total 70. Status deep love. Ding. The host has significantly influenced the plot. Reward 800 villain points. Chu Bai's protagonist Halo -30. Host's villain Halo +30. Wang Haoran felt a surge of triumph. The rewards were massive, but the shift in Su Muan was even more valuable. At this level of affection, her loyalty was ironclad. Lawyer In watched her daughter's reaction from the corner of her eye. The girl's expression was unmistakable, and Wang Haoran's casual remark about what was between them was even more telling. Her daughter hadn't even attempted to correct him. She's growing up, Haoran thought with a faint, internal sigh. And if she has to be with someone, she could do much worse than a boy like this. I'll go check on your father, Haoran said, deciding to give the two of them some space. She followed the doctor out of the room. Silence settled over the VIP hall, leaving only Wang Haoran and Sumwian. You shouldn't have said that, Sumwian murmured, casting a shy glance his way. My mother is going to misunderstand. What did I say? Wang Haoran played the part of the innocent, looking genuinely puzzled. I only meant that we've been classmates for a long time. Helping a friend doesn't require a thank you. The spark of disappointment in Sumwian's eyes was instantaneous. He only sees me as a classmate. She tried to mask the feeling, forcing a playful smile to her lips. Hey, you've never mentioned which of the school beauties you actually like. Is it Qin Yunhan or Mu Zhaozhao? It sounded like a joke, but she had been dying to ask for weeks. The names belonged to the other two famous girls at their school. Although Sumwian wasn't close to them, their reputations were hard to ignore. Wang Haoran leaned back, appearing to give the question serious thought. Well, Qin Yunhan is stunning, and she has incredible poise. She's tall, though she's a bit flat in the front. He paused, a mischievous glint in his eyes. And Mu Zhaozhao? That baby face is adorable, and her figure is explosive, almost too much curvature, if there is such a thing. But she's quite a bit shorter than Qin Yunhan. He sighed, looking torn. Both have their strengths. If I had to choose one to pursue, it would be a very difficult decision. Chapter 49. Qin Yunhan. A sharp tang of jealousy bit at Sumwian. She wasn't a narcissistic person, but she knew her worth. Her face, her figure, and her grace were top tier. While she didn't possess Qin Yunhan's towering height, she stood at a respectable 165 centimeters, a perfect height for a girl. Her figure might lack Mu Zhaozhao's extreme curves, but beneath the baggy, shapeless school uniforms, she held a hidden elegance. If she swapped the polyester for something form-fitting, she knew she would turn heads. Yet, the boy sitting next to her seemed to have eyes only for the beauties in other classes. I'm beautiful too, she thought, a small pout forming on her lips. Ding. The host has provoked jealousy in heroine Sumwian. Reward, 100 villain points. Wang Haoran glanced at her. The system prompt was a delightful surprise. Sumwian was doing her best to maintain a mask of indifference, but her racing heart betrayed her. To him, her internal struggle was as clear as day. If you absolutely had to choose one, Sumwian asked, her voice light but curious, who would it be? Wang Haoran suppressed a grin. Only children made choices, adults took everything. But that wasn't the answer a gentleman gave. Qin Yunhan, he replied casually. Mu Zhaozhao is so cute though, Sumwian pressed. She wanted to peel back the layers of his preferences, to see what truly moved him. Why her? I'm simply more familiar with Qin Yunhan. I know her father, so she feels less like a stranger. It's as simple as that. Sumwian opened her mouth to dig deeper, but the heavy thud of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Voices drifted through the door. Dad, the tile missed me. It hit the ground at my feet. I'm fine, really. Why are we even at a hospital? The speaker was a girl, her tone sharp with teenage impatience. You might be physically fine, but you were shaken up, a thick, smoky voice replied. It was a middle-aged man, his tone brimming with gentle concern. A quick session with a psychologist won't hurt. Just sit with me for a bit. The doctor will be here soon. The door swung open, and the pair stepped into the VIP hall. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Wait, Haoran. The man's eyes widened in surprise as he recognized the boy on the sofa. Hello, Uncle Qin, Wang Haoran said, rising with a polite smile. The room is plenty big enough. Please, sit down. Qin Kai, a titan of the Qingling business world, nodded appreciatively. What brings you to the clinic at this hour? Is your father unwell or? Nothing like that. The father of a classmate needs an operation, and I'm helping them get settled, Wang Haoran explained. He shifted his gaze to the girl standing beside the businessman, and offered a polite, measured smile. Qin Yunhan returned the gesture with a small, practiced curve of her lips. Wang Haoran searched his memories. The two families moved in the same circles, but he and Qin Yunhan had rarely spoken at school. In the original timeline, the old Wang Haoran was too obsessed with Sumwian to notice anyone else. Even now, he didn't feel much of a spark. She was wealthy, beautiful, and famously difficult to pursue. Unless a girl was a heroine, or a useful pawn like Wen Jing, Wang Haoran wasn't interested in the effort of the chase. As far as he knew, Qin Yunhan had no connection to Chubai, which meant she wasn't a primary target. His smile was nothing more than social grease. Qin Kai and his daughter took a seat across from them. Qin Yunhan immediately pulled out her phone, her thumbs flying across the screen. Qin Kai leaned back, lost in thought. The arrival of guests silenced Sum Wean's personal questions. She spent the time observing the competition. Up close, Qin Yunhan was undeniably striking. She looked to be at least 175 centimeters tall, with the long, lean proportions of a runway model. The rumors of her being flat were an exaggeration. She was well-proportioned, even if she didn't stand out in that particular category. She was a super beauty, a true school flower. Sum Wen couldn't help but run the numbers in her head. Aside from height, they were evenly matched in looks. But when it came to family status, the gap was a canyon. Qin Yunhan was the perfect social match for a boy like Wang Haoran. No wonder he picked her. They actually fit together, Sum Wen thought. Ding. The host has provoked deep jealousy in heroine Sum Wen. Reward 200 villain points. 5 minutes later, a nurse entered to announce that the psychologist was ready. Qin Kai stood up, bid a quick farewell to Wang Haoran, and led his daughter toward the consultation wing. As they walked down the corridor, Qin Kai's voice turned stern. Yunhan, you have to stop being so reckless. Stay near your bodyguards. You were lucky today. If that tile had hit your head instead of the pavement, we wouldn't be having this conversation. That bodyguard was a joke, Qin Yunhan scoffed. I could lose him whenever I wanted. He was useless. Well, he's already been fired. Really? Thank God. Her mood brightened instantly. Dad, I'm 18. Having a middle-aged muscle man following me around school is embarrassing. It's annoying. You should have gotten rid of him weeks ago. That was the 10th one you've driven away, Qin Kai sighed. He had made enemies in his rise to power, and the threat of retaliation against his daughter kept him up at night. But with her graduation looming, he didn't want to smother her with fear. 10 already? She sounded impressed with herself. Then take the hint, Dad. Don't hire another one. I'll just make their lives miserable until they quit. This isn't up for debate. Protection is mandatory. I've already found a replacement. He'll be here in a few days. Qin Yunhan groaned, but her father continued before she could protest. This one is different. He's in his 20s, raised in the mountains. He's quite handsome, actually. I think you'll like him. I've arranged for him to join your class so he can stay with you during school hours. Qin Yunhan nearly tripped. Are you serious? You found a country bumpkin from the mountains to protect me? If he follows me into class, I'll be the laughingstock of the city. She stopped, her eyes flashing with a cold, determined light. Fine. Send him. But I'm warning you, Dad, I'm going to be ruthless this time. I'll bully him until he has a psychological breakdown. Actually, no, I'll make sure he leaves in a wheelchair. Qin Kai just smiled, his eyes reflecting a newfound confidence. If you think you can, give it a try. This new hire wasn't like the others. He had real skills, the kind that didn't come from a gym or a security firm. With this man by her side, she was entirely safe. Scaring him away would be like trying to scare a mountain. Just you wait, Qin Yunhan huffed. Chapter 50. The Supreme Poison Sutra. The wait lasted more than an hour. Finally, word arrived from the surgical wing. The operation was a success. The metal fragment, once a ticking time bomb in Su Zheng's abdomen, had been safely removed. Su Zheng lay on a mobile gurney as nurses wheeled him from the operating theater toward the recovery ward. Loyerin and Sum Wen rushed to his side, their faces lighting up with relief as the heavy weight finally lifted from their hearts. At Su Zheng's insistence, the anesthesiologist had used a minimal dose. Despite the ordeal, his mind remained sharp and clear. The family shared a quiet moment together as the reality of the night settled in. Su Zheng listened intently as they explained the full scope of the situation, the clinical precision of the checkup, and the astronomical medical fees that had been wiped away with a single membership card. Haoran, I can't thank you enough for this, Su Zheng said, his voice gravelly but sincere. It's a true blessing for my Yunyan to have a classmate like you. Ding. Supporting character Su Zheng's friendliness toward the host has greatly increased. Su Zheng has joined the host's camp. Reward 200 villain points. Chu buys protagonist Halo, -10. Host's villain Halo +10. Uncle Su, you're far too kind, Wang Haoran replied, his expression a mask of humble respect. Sum Wen and I are close classmates, and I view you as my elder. If you keep thanking me like this, I'll start to feel like I've failed in my duties as a junior. The performance was seamless. Thanks to his actor-level skills, the words felt like they came from the depths of his soul, rather than a calculated script. Su Zheng and Loyerin exchanged a meaningful look, nodding in silent approval. This wasn't just a rich heir, this was a young man of rare character and breeding. They felt a sudden, profound ease regarding his friendship with their daughter. But even a tough man like Su Zheng needed rest. The clock on the wall shifted past midnight. It was late, and the adrenaline was finally fading. lawyer and decided to stay behind to monitor her husband, while Sumlian needed to get home for school the next morning. Wang Haoran signaled for his driver to take Sumlian home first. As the luxury car glided through the quiet streets, a thought flickered in Wang Haoran's mind. With her favorability at 70, he could likely find an excuse to stay the night at her house. A deep, heartfelt love often blurred the lines of caution. He could escalate their relationship tonight, right now. The idea held his attention for a few seconds before he discarded it. Despite her feelings, they were still officially just classmates. Pushing for a physical jump this early could backfire. It was a high-risk move that might damage her trust and lower her favorability. Besides, with Chubai's influence over her completely shattered, there was no rush. The harvest would be much sweeter when her favorability reached 90. After dropping Sumlian off, Wang Haoran returned to his own villa. He didn't even wait for her to invite him inside. Once he had showered and settled into his bedroom, he pulled up his system interface to review his progress. Host Wang Haoran. Combat Strength 289. Charm 268. Villain Halo 369. Villain Points 2300. Skills Master Level Calligraphy/Painting. Master Level Wing Chun. Singer Level Vocals. Actor Level Acting. Perspective Vision. 2300 points. A tidy fortune. Even better was the growth of his villain halo. At 369, he could calculate that Chubai's protagonist halo had withered down to 87. The threat was fading, but the system warned him against complacency. If he stopped his machinations, the narrative would naturally correct itself, restoring Chubai's luck and draining his own. In this world, they were two poles of a magnet, destined to push against one another until one was destroyed. It was time to spend. He opened the system mall and sunk 500 points into the lottery. Unfortunately, the host drew no rewards. Continue. Yes. Unfortunately, the host drew no rewards. Continue. Yes. Unfortunately, the host drew no rewards. Continue. Yes. Ding. Congratulations. The host has drawn the Supreme Poison Sutra, valued at 8,000 villain points. Spend 200 points to learn. An 8,000 point skill for a fraction of the cost was a massive win. He quickly schemed the description. The Supreme Poison Sutra was a legendary compendium written by the Poison Emperor. Mastery allowed the user to kill without leaving a trace, utilizing poisons that were invisible to the naked eye. Learn it, he commanded. Ding. The host has spent 200 points to comprehend the Supreme Poison Sutra. Skill obtained: Advanced Poison Technique. The technique had 3 tiers: Advanced, Grandmaster, and Supreme. Upgrading would be expensive, but as the information flooded his brain, he realized Advanced was more than enough for his current needs. He could now manufacture and deploy lethal toxins with terrifying ease. He could kill Chubai tonight. A simple, straightforward solution. Chubai had perspective vision, but he wasn't a doctor or an alchemist. He wouldn't see the poison until it was already in his blood. Yet, Wang Haoran hesitated. Killing the protagonist too early was a waste. There were still so many points to be squeezed from the boy, so much luck to be siphoned. The fastest way to drain a hero was through the women he was destined to love. Wang Haoran reached for his phone and dialed Wen Jing. It was the early hours of the morning, but he knew she wouldn't mind the intrusion. When she finally answered, her voice was thick with sleep. "I couldn't sleep," he whispered into the receiver, his voice dropping into a low, intimate tone. "I kept thinking about you." The sleepiness vanished instantly. Wen Jing's voice turned bright and excited, her heart racing at the unexpected late-night attention. She sounded ready to talk until sunrise, but Wang Haoran had a different agenda. After a few minutes of sweet talking to keep her hooked, he shifted his tone. "I need you to do something for me tomorrow," he said. It was time to put the next phase of the plan into motion. To be continued. Hope you liked today's video. Join the community by subscribing and dropping a like. I'll be back with another update tomorrow. See you then.